Yeah, it didn't happen today, or you covered it up by doing it, and I couldn't hear it. It could be.
Good morning.
Oh? What's that? You're back for more? More fun, more shenanigans, more, I hope, near endless entertainment in the world of sports talk radio? Well, my goodness, friends, have you come to the right place? Because I got to tell you, I'm back for more. Zoe's back for more. Everything is back for more except my voice, which has somehow gotten worse from yesterday. But that, friends, is okay. That's all right. It's all good.
Nope.
Because Robbie Lil Paul Heyman Brown is back to bring the thunder, baby. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, to the greatest sports talk show that airs on weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. if you ask my mom. The reviews are sterling.
So you don't have that opinion yourself?
I mean,
so you're saying only your mom thinks that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty good.
I'm disappointed
pretty
because
good.
I said this is the best sports show in this area.
It's pretty good.
Maybe in the state, maybe in the country.
Maybe of all time.
Could be.
Maybe of all time.
No, maybe across this time and dimensions.
Maybe in the entire multiverse.
Well, those aliens that you don't believe exist, they may be big fans. They could be.
I don't know.
We are really big with the grays and the greens. Yeah.
Relative. Lonzo not only knows there's ET, he knows that there's multiple ETs and they come in different flavors.
I read the internet.
Yeah, fair enough. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome in the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is man, I can't even do it. Hit it. Nope, not today. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob and the Great One Lonzo bringing you all of the excitement of a Cleveland Cavaliers game.
It was like a halftime shot or something, or a half court shot.
Oh, don't worry. Just watch the last 2 minutes of highlights here as Max Strus decides to put up a 52-footer for the game and converts it.
Yeah, I know it was a long one. I had saw that in
from the logo on the other side.
Yeah.
Spectacular. Dallas gets the rock, puts up a couple of buckets inside of 46 seconds left to play. Cleveland's got an opportunity with 32 seconds. They get a bank shot to go up 3. Dallas ends up getting the ball back. Little floater in the lane from Kyrie because Kyrie refuses to just go away.
He looks old.
9 seconds left. The Mavs down 1. You got a tip drill on the sideline. Dallas gets the ball. Luka in the gang with an opportunity to win it with 8 seconds. The inbound ends up with, shocker, I know, Luka Doncic, who throws the ice-cold no-look dime under the basket for the layup, and in come the Cav. 1 second left. Strus from 54. Nothing but string. When basketball is good, basketball is great. When basketball is great, it is electric. And that game was electric down the stretch. Incredible. Luka, by the way, if Max Strus doesn't knock down a game winner from the other side of the logo, Luka Doncic is all over the ESPN Sports Center top 10 plays for the no-look ice-cold dime he threw with 2.5 seconds left to play for the dub. It's incredible. Incredible, man. I love basketball, and that's why, because stuff like that happens. And for those of you that are already getting the old Twitty fingers ready to go to send me your super smart boy text that says, Rob, I love basketball too, but the NBA is just not the same. It's just not the same anymore. Well,
yeah, because they make shots there, Rob. We're used to watching good defense.
I'm going to fight you. Before you get that all fired up and ready to go, before you get all ready to hit me with that take, please know that later on in the show, we are going to be having a conversation about the NBA competition committee. Because the NBA's competition committee is doing a little study, a little survey. They, as all of us should, have decided, let's look at the data. Let's look at the data. Let's look at the facts, the information. And let's see if a proposed reality is reality. Let's take a gander and see what happens. And so they're doing that to see if the NBA has tilted too far in favor of offense. Has the NBA gone too far in catering to the offense? And if so, will it make a shift back towards being a more defensive game? We are going to talk about that later in the show because I read that last night and I went, "Ooh, good. Doesn't mean they're going to change anything, but I like the fact that they are looking. It is important. So we're going to talk about that later on in the radio broadcast. We have got a bunch of NFL news that we need to get to today. A lot of NFL news we need to get today. Really excited about this because I find it incredible sometimes how much of a lack of self-awareness some people have.
What were you saying?
That's just general awareness. You and I just like general awareness. There's a difference. Dave Tepper, when the hiring of Dave Canellis came through as the new HC, the former OC out of the TB, when that hiring came through, I thought to myself, my goodness, that actually looks like a good, well thought out hire. Is it experimental? Yes, but this team hasn't had a winning season in 6 years. They're coming off a 2-15 year in which they gave away everything to bring in a rookie quarterback who threw the fewest number of touchdown passes ever for a quarterback that had 500 passing attempts or more.
Wait, ever?
Ever. I can't do it. Ever. And so you have to fix these things. And you went and you found a guy that at least on paper appears to tick the boxes that at least most of us wanted to see ticked in the new HC. And then at the introductory press conference of new general manager Dan Morgan, a guy that whether or not he can do the job, we will find out, but a guy who at the very least generated some positive thoughts, some positive emotion from Panthers fans. It's a guy that when he got the nod, we got guys like Rashad Beard and you guys out there in the Armada that are hitting up the show going, I don't know if he can do it, but he was a dog. He was a player. He was a dude back in the day. So at least we know he's got a football mentality. We'll find out if he's got a football mind. And then he hires Canellis. Again, tick the boxes. And I think a lot of people were interested. And then at the introductory press conference for Canellis and Morgan, Dave Tepper is off on the sideline. And the media walks over and they say, "Hey, Dave, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the press conference? What are your thoughts on the direction of Dave Canellis and Dan Morgan?" And he said, you will recall, we reported on this show, it doesn't matter. I'm on the sideline now. It doesn't matter. I'm on the side. I'm not in that. That's their world. This is mine. I'm going to dial in on the business world and let them do the footballing stuff. And I came on the show the next day and I said, man, I hope he's not being sarcastic. Rashad Beard thinks he's being sarcastic. Rashad Beard thinks he was just kind of pulling the leg of the reporter a little bit. I am electing because, as Lonzo will tell, I am nothing if not a ray of optimism beaming and sharing my light with the world. I elected to believe that Dave Tepper was being sincere. And all of the sudden, would you look at that? All of a sudden, Dave Tepper isn't being cussed out on the daily by Panthers fans. All of the sudden, Dave Tepper is not getting run up on by the local media. All of the sudden, you got a bunch of people out there that were wanting to put Dave Tepper on blast regularly and repeatedly who suddenly aren't talking about Dave Tepper. And I thought, this is a good thing. This is good. That's what we need. That's what we all wanted, right? I think there is one thing that while myself and Lonzo and Rashad and most of y'all in the Armada, we may have all had different opinions on how the Panthers would be fixed. I think one thing that was in common between all of our threads of thought was that no matter how it got there, Dave Tepper had to get the hell up out of the way. That's why you had Rashad down there selling the Tep back shirts. It's a good shirt, by the way. Real good shirt. It's why you had all this going on, right? And so he kind of did. Felt like he did. Felt like he took the advice of us. Said, yeah, let me walk this back a little bit. And he did. And then yesterday, I'm sitting at the house. I went up last night, had some cigars and bourbon with the boys to celebrate the, a little late birthday celebration with the fellas. And I get in the car and I'm driving home and I flip, I told you guys I listen to sports talk stations from around the country. I like to hear what's going on where and what the topics of conversation are, et cetera. And what do I hear except somebody informing America that the Carolina Panthers are going to increase the price of their tickets next year? Yeah, pretty much what I said. They are going to increase the price of their tickets. And I thought to myself, well, all right, hang on. We all know that right now we have, on one hand, a relatively strong economy. On the other hand, inflation is still inflation. 3.4% inflation right now, despite a relatively decent economic position nationally. The price of tickets in Charlotte, North Carolina have outpaced the national average rate of inflation. Now, I do not know the economic breakdown of the city of Charlotte, North Carolina. I know it sucks, dude. I can't go. I can't go right now.
Find another way, because that was bad. I mean, apparently you're not willing to sell out.
I'm not willing to sell out?
Yeah, because I think you could do it if you tried hard enough.
Yeah, I could. You going to carry the last hour of the show when I'm over here sounding like a squeak toy?
All right, no need to hurt my feelings.
I know. I'm just asking, are you willing
I
to
think
do it?
we both know I'm not good enough for that.
Because if I get to what the X is going on and you have to both read them and then explain it because I'm over here going, hey,
Rob, if I was good enough, I'd have my own show on this station.
You have your own show on that station.
Yeah, I know.
So you are going to shut up.
I'll bring someone in to carry the last hour, okay?
So you have a guy in Dave Tepper who looks at a team that has not had a winning record in over half of a decade. You are looking at the owner of a team that went 2-15 last year. And he thought to himself, we actually have a little bit of positive momentum right now. We got a head coach that, most people are excited by. A lot of people aren't jacked up, but at least they're cautiously optimistic, which that's where I am, and I'm fine with that. We got a general manager that is a legend from this team that the fans have bought into. I think we've put all the pieces in place. You know what I think they'll appreciate tickets costing more. Now, Joey B popped in and made the fantastic but obvious joke. So when they're 2-14 next year, tickets will now be $2 instead of $1, which is a wonderful joke.
You gotta. I hope you thought the same thing when you saw it, because that's exactly what I thought.
Let me tell you.
That's what I thought. It's like, okay, all right, still affordable. $2 is still affordable.
The thought that I had was this. If those are the ticket prices go up, you already have a fan base that if you don't come out and make some noise up out of the gate, can I tell you what Carolina is going to be known as by halfway through next season? Everybody else has the home field advantage. You remember when Dallas came last year? It was a Dallas Cowboys home game. Do you know the embarrassment?
It's been that way for like 6 seasons. You were talking about how,
last year went to a new level. As somebody who has been to multiple away team games at Carolina, last year was the worst I have ever seen it since I moved here. Granted, the first year was a COVID year, but in the 3 seasons that weren't COVID years, I have been to at least one Panthers game every year. Last year was the worst I've ever seen it. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse, because if people are going, screw you, Dave Tepper, I'm not buying season tickets. If you're raising the prices of those tickets while you give us a 2-14 team, even if we do truly believe that you're finally pointed in the right direction, I'm not going to buy those tickets. And if that ends up being the case, those tickets go on the resale market. And if they go on the resale market next year, every game is going to be an away game for the Panthers. It is embarrassing that Bryce Young had to come out during the Dallas week last week and tell the world that his team was practicing a silent count for a home game. Listen, 2-15 should be a problem. All these other issues should be and are problems. But Dave Tepper should have changed everything, the second that Bryce Young said on national television, we are practicing the silent count. Bryce, you're at home this week. Yeah, we know, but like not really at the same time. And you're gonna raise the price. You're gonna raise the prices on a 2-15 football team. You're gonna raise the prices. I am flabbergasted by that. Shocked by that. All right, we'll talk more about this later on the show. We're going to get into that. Last week, when we talked about Jaden Daniels and my belief that he is the star of this NFL draft, one of you, I don't remember whom, one of you asked me, Rob, historically, how have Heisman quarterbacks fared in the National Football League? And I thought that's a wonderful question. And I told you that I was going to look it up and find out. I have compiled the list. I have taken a snapshot, not necessarily hard, deep analysis of it, but I've taken a snapshot of the success or not that of Heisman quarterbacks dating to Doug Flutie back in the mid-'80s. And I will give you a rundown on those later on. Just really more because I find it interesting than anything else. We'll talk about Dave Canellis took to the stand yesterday, gave his plan to fix Bryce Young. Tell you what that is later on in the radio broadcast. And will NFL kickoffs look different? One big name NFL exec says, yes, you will see a different kickoff format in the NFL next year. What format is that, you might ask? I'm glad you did, hypothetical listener I made up for this exact situation, because I'm going to tell you when we come back here in just a minute. My name is Rob Brown, the great ones on the ones and twos. The Rob Brown Show is in your ear holes right now. This is the Fan Upstate.
Smith.
I knew that. You told me that. Hey, quick live read. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay right there. on top in the.
Okay,
in the
I thought
photos.
you were just. Oh, I see it now. I thought you were just trying to build it back
No,
up
no, no.
into it. Okay, all right. I'm glad we had the discussion about what it was because you were probably thinking something totally different.
I was when you're like, I don't know what it's for. I was like, I should tell him.
Yeah, because from my angle, I could just see the round ones. I didn't see the one on top. I get it might be round. Is it like in a square box?
It is. It is in
Okay,
a
all
display
right.
case.
Okay, all right.
It is a limited edition
I
souvenir.
wanted to make sure that I wasn't, seeing shadows or something. It is up against the darkness. Yeah. Did you see all the video game layoffs for Sony?
I did not.
Yeah. They laid off a bunch of people.
So I had a conversation yesterday with somebody who has spent some time in the video gaming industry who told me that in the next year to 2 years, the console wars will be over and 95% of games plus will become cross-platform. So because I asked him, I was like, do I go Xbox or do I switch to PlayStation? And he said, in the next year and a half, it won't matter. Everything will be cross-platform. Last year, across the National Football League, there were 2,698 kickoffs. Of those 2,698 kickoffs, 587 were returned. 92 were fair caught. 1,970 of them were touchbacks, which led many to decry kickoffs as effectively now being a ceremonial play more than an actual.
Which is what they wanted. That's exactly what they wanted when they changed the rules because they said for safety reasons. So now they're complaining about that.
I do not think that they wanted it to be a ceremonial play. I think they wanted a situation where the play was still in the game, but the number of injuries suffered on kickoffs, which was by percentage higher than traditional offensive or defensive plays, to come down. And they thought this was going to be a solution. We increased the number of touchbacks. We increased the number of fair catches. And basically what it is going to do, in theory, was create a situation where teams would return kicks if and only if it was a critical situation where they needed a spark, needed something to happen. That ended up not being the case.
Yeah, because if you get to come out to the 25, why would you run it out? I mean, because most kickoffs don't make it past the 20 or kickoff returns. This is what they wanted. And now they're going to try to change it again. It just doesn't, they didn't foresee that teams would go, hey, we get to start at 25. Okay. Just don't run it out. Just make sure you filled the ball cleanly. That's all you're back there for.
I think that, like I mentioned, I think they thought it would basically create a situation where kickoff returns still happened, were more rare, but basically in high pressure situations. Being at the 25 isn't enough. We need this drive to start out at the 40, 45, 50.
Did you think that?
Did I think that was going to be the case? I thought it was I thought it was a likely possibility.
Because I thought exactly what has happened would happen. That there would be less kickoffs because that's why they said.
Listen, let's be clear.
Or kickoff returns, rather.
Yes, inevitably there were going to be fewer kickoff returns because, as you pointed out, kickoffs that are returned out of the end zone average being down around the 17 to 20 yard line. You're giving teams 5 to 8 yards of incentive not to run the ball back. It was to me, hey, it is the fourth quarter. You are down 4. You need a tutty. You need as much yardage as you can. You got to take. Basically, it was going to make actually returning the ball a gamble that you would get that 25 with the payoff being that you got more. So the inevitable conclusion was, yes, we would have dramatically fewer kickoff returns, but in the spots where you want the game to be exciting and have exciting thing happen, there would still be a need, a desire for teams to return kicks. Now, I do not have the data on if of the 587 kicks that were returned out of 2,698 versus the nearly 2,000 touchbacks out of 2,698. I do not have a breakdown of if there was like one quarter that was heaviest. You know, most of the kickoff returns were in the fourth quarter or the first quarter or whatever the case might have been. But regardless, yes, the number of kickoffs dropped dramatically. The league, according to Dallas Cowboys Executive Vice President EVP Stephen Jones, who is a member of the NFL's competition committee, said that he expects the competition committee to make a recommendation to the NFL owners to change the kickoff model. Now, there's a couple of ideas apparently that are being floated around right now as potential changes to the kickoff format in the National Football League. The one that I am reading has the most momentum. The one that seems to be the one most likely to get enacted during this offseason and be in place for the start of the 2024 season is the old XFL model. The old XFL model would see the kicking team lined up at the opponent's 35-yard line. The return team is lined up at the 30-yard line. And at the kick, only the kicker and kick returner would be allowed to move until the ball is caught. So you have the two teams 5 yards apart from each other. So you don't have these big 20, 30, 30-yard runs to build up momentum. 5 yards apart from each other. The kicker may approach and kick the ball. The other 10 guys from his team may not move. The returner may run around in the backfield to get under the ball. The other 10 guys on his team may not move. Once the returner has caught the football, at that point, the other 20 guys on the football field would be allowed to move. The blockers would be allowed to retreat towards the kick returner. The kickoff team would be allowed to progress down the field towards the kickoff returner to try to bring him down. And this would decrease the number of high-speed, high-contact collisions, but also create a world where kickoff returners have an opportunity to make a play. I don't know if this model works or not. It worked for the old XFL. Will it work in the NFL? I don't know. Stephen Jones said, quote, I think everybody wants something different. They want it to be a real play, and we just got to do it in a way that's safe for the players so you don't have the injury rate that we've had in the past, that it's more in line with a typical football play. So I think that's really important. I think it can be positive play, a positive play that fans would really enjoy, end quote. The committee is also working through a rule change regarding the hip drop tackle, but Jones said that he thinks the solution to the hip drop tackle is really just better officiating on those tackles in the game.
Can you explain the hip drop tackle?
Yes, I can try my best. I have tried to explain it to a couple of people, and some guys get it, some guys don't. A hip drop tackle is effectively when a defender wraps up around the hips, usually from behind, wraps up around the hips of a ball carrier, and then just drops their body weight down. And the reason it is dangerous is because when that tackler wraps up and then drops their body weight to the ground, basically you hold and then you go dead weight. More often than not, you drop down onto the legs of the player that is running the football.
How in the world are you supposed to tackle these days? I mean, what is they're finding all these different ways. Well, you can't tackle this way. You can't tackle this way. You can't do man, being a defensive player has got to be difficult.
It is, but you had a number of not just injuries. Remember the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens, Mark Andrews, he got injured and had to miss some valuable time for the Ravens due to a hip drop tackle. That's what took him out going into the playoffs and created a situation where for a couple of weeks, Baltimore was out one of their most dangerous red zone threats. He was not the only one. A number of running backs have been injured by the hip drop tackle. The NFL has also gotten a number of sideline physicians who have stepped in and said, the hip drop tackle is just flat out dangerous. It's just a dangerous play. Andrews caught a pass near the 10-yard line in the first quarter of a game. The defender wrapped him up around the waist, used the body weight to drag him down from behind. And basically what you're doing is on top of the weight of the ball carrier, you are adding the entire body weight of the defender onto the lower extremities of the player with the football. So now their ankles, their knees, their tendons, their ligaments are carrying the weight of two human beings. And while these people are elite level athletes, the human body is not evolved for that.
All right, Rob Brown, as the noted knower of ball, how would I tackle someone? What's the way for me to tackle someone?
The way to tackle someone is to run through a hit.
No, because if you run, I'm trying to figure out how to run through a hit without parts of my body weight coming down on the. So you shouldn't wrap, is what you're saying. You
should wrap as you run through the hit.
Okay, and then just release and let them fly.
No, you should run through the hit.
No,
through the hit.
I get what you're saying,
right?
And it sounds like you're saying a brawn breaker spear,
right? That's a tackle. That's literally a tackle.
Yeah,
that's what a form tackle is supposed to be.
But he doesn't wrap. So, okay.
Yes, he does wrap. A form tackle is, and again, I understand it's a fast-moving, high-contact play. It's hard to get it perfect. But a form tackle is head across the body, arms wrapped to the other side, drive through
a double leg takedown from wrestling.
Kinda.
No, that's exactly what it is. But at the same time, if you come down on the guy you're tackling, then they could say that, you put all your body weight on him. All you did, it's just so much for interpretation.
Keep in mind, there is a difference. So the hip drop tackle is their hip, not the tackler.
No, I understand that.
So if you jump and you get a guy around the shoulders and you go dead weight, that's not a hip drop tackle. The hip drop tackle is when you get them around the waist or lower, and then you just go dead weight and fall down.
So what if you get them around the torso and because of momentum, you slide down and you end up on their hips?
Are you
supposed to let go? Like, that's their hips.
So that we are clear, much like with a lot of things that happen in football, I think a lot of this has to be deeply analyzed because, you look, we all have a problem. Even I have a problem with the way that we are officiating hits on quarterbacks across the NFL, right? I think all of us at this point are aware that there are some pretty obnoxious calls on quarterback hits, on roughing the passer around this league. The intent of why they are so aggressive with that flag is fine. It makes sense. These are guys at any position, no matter at any level of play on the football field, that after they have concluded or in the act of throwing a pass are the most vulnerable guy on the field at that moment.
All right, leave Patrick Mahomes alone. You can hit everybody else.
Right. That's part of it. They are also the guy that we all understand and accept are the most important guys in and to the league. They are the biggest stars in the game. And so because of that, they have probably, even to me, Mr. Safe Football Guy. They have probably over-legislated hits on quarterbacks to the point that it's impacted games in real negative ways. So,
all right, Trey wants to know, would a picture-perfect Ricky the Dragon Steamboat flying cross-body tackle work in the NFL?
Letter of the law, yes. Letter of the law. I will let
but if you miss, you're going to look really stupid. That's all.
I will
that's all I'm saying.
You let Derrick Henry run through your exposed midsection. Have fun with that. And again, that's the argument. Running backs are bigger and thicker and heavier and stronger than they've been in a long time. So asking a 178-pound defensive back to run through the chest of Saquon Barkley is a big ask. But to me, my response then becomes, well, then you better find somebody who can. You better find someone who can. The hip drop tackle is, this part is not up for debate. It's a dangerous play. It's a dangerous tackle. It is the exact same reason that we do not allow you to hit defenseless receivers anymore. You can go up and compete for the football, but you cannot just wreck a guy anymore because it is dangerous and it is in a dangerous game. So the hip drop tackle going away by itself is not a bad thing, but to answer the second part of what the great one asked me a minute ago, how do you legislate this in a way that is evident on the football field? I don't know. The hip drop tackle, we know what it is. We know it when we see it. We know how it works. How do you legislate away from it in a way that does not make it even more difficult on defensive players in the NFL? I don't know. But I'm also not on the NFL's competition committee.
Hey, can we get Bill Vinovich on the line to tell us how to do? All right, we've been flagged enough lately. I don't know if someone's if you accidentally went SOS there.
Why would you get Bill Vinovich on the line if you wanted a conversation about good calls? About how to referee better?
I have a theory that if you get a little worked up, that your voice gets better, and I think the theory was just proven.
I will find a way
to make my
voice better if I get the opportunity to tell Bill Vinovich to off. Absolutely. All right, kids. We got a lot of stuff we got to get to. A lot of stuff we need to talk about on the radio broadcast today. That's some NFL news and notes. NFL kickoffs could be changing as early as this year. By the way, if that legislation passes, if they decide to change the kickoff rule for 2024, it would be on a 1-year experimental agreement if everybody signs off on it. We would try it 1 year to see if it works.
And it will work as well as that pass interference flag thing.
I had just let it go. Why would you?
Because that lasted 1 year. So, I mean, it's the most recent example that I can think of.
You know who I blame? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. I'm going to go get a cough drop. Struggling today, guys.
This has nothing to do with me invoking that name. It just has nothing to do with that. A little worried because there's some major tornadoes, it looks like, going through the Ohio area. Hopefully the family's okay. Wow. So apparently, and I didn't know this because we don't have to deal with that here and hopefully won't, that tornado warnings actually go off over your phone too. Now, cell phones didn't exist like they do now when I lived in Ohio, because that was almost 27 years ago. Or maybe they did for rich people, which I was not and still am not one of. Apparently, there are major tornadoes in Ohio right now.
Oh, bummer.
To the point where it has been Xing big time.
Not ideal.
Used to scare me so bad because the tornado siren was on the electric pole right outside our front yard. It was so loud. I mean, it's just like instant fear, which you should have about tornadoes anyway. That siren would just go like right through you.
I gotta tell you, one of my dreams is to go tornado chasing.
Okay. Well, I can tell you where to go right now, unfortunately. The worst thing it happened one time in the middle of Red, White, and Boom. And, thousands and thousands of people trying to get out of downtown because the tornado heading that way. That's the one year I didn't go. So I'm hearing the sirens and I'm watching it on TV going, this could be really bad. And luckily it didn't hit. Supposed to be up to like 74 here today, according to certain models. This is the weather app, which is frequently inaccurate. Say, oh, now it says 71. It said 74 yesterday. You're a liar. They have tornadoes in Florida?
Oh God, yeah.
I know it's a weird question, but I've never lived in Florida.
One of the most tornadic states in the union.
Even more so than Oklahoma?
Yep. No, I think it's like second to Oklahoma.
I'm say Ohio's pretty bad too because of the valley and all the pressures and stuff.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Wrapping up hour number 1. Rob and Lonzo here. I don't mean to take away a Twitter trending topic, a what the X subject from later on in the show. Great one. But I might. We did a segment a couple of weeks ago where somehow we ended up discussing the Whigs and the Tories of the American Revolution storming the field after a victory, after an upset win, like at the Battle of Cowpens, just a couple of minutes north of the upstate. And I get on X, formerly known as Twitter, which I think is what you have to call it now, and Benedict Arnold is trending today.
Yeah, I saw that. I wasn't going to use it though, because we had our we had our moment of influencing again. I get you are a history buff as far as things like that, but I think a lot of people don't remember who Benedict Arnold was.
Benedict Arnold, of course, known as the great traitor during the American Revolution. However, what many people do not know is that Benedict Arnold was actually, up until the moment of his treason, an American hero during the Revolution. Had Benedict Arnold succumbed to the injuries that he sustained at the Battle of Saratoga, a broken leg that threatened his life, he would have died and been celebrated alongside the rest of the war heroes of the American Revolution. But because of the fact that he stayed alive and due to some questionable business decisions and the fact that he married a known loyalist sympathizer in Philadelphia, instead of the repeated military promotions that, frankly, he may have, based on merit and qualification, deserved, Benedict Arnold instead was resigned to being a military governor in the city of Philadelphia. He was very disappointed, and of course, the Brits knew that, so they approached his wife, and through her offered him a military officership within the British government, within the British Army, pardon me. They also paid him a hefty chunk of change, and in return for his safety, he was basically given a big old chunk of money and gave over the keys to the fort at West Point, which was a massively important military structure during the American Revolution.
How did Benedict Arnold pass away, Rob?
Benedict Arnold, after the war was over, made his way back to England, where he got into some business deals, but unfortunately, he never really got off the ground. So he did live into an advanced age for that period of time, but he died rather unceremoniously. In fact, if you go to Saratoga right now, you can go visit where the one of the two, the major, the one Battle of Saratoga happened, and you will actually find a memorial at Saratoga that just has a boot on it. That actually is in commemoration of the victory on that part of the battlefield led by Benedict Arnold, at the time leader of Revolutionary Forces, and commemorating the men who were able to achieve that victory without celebrating Benedict Arnold himself. The boot represents the broken leg that he suffered at that battle that took him off the battlefield, but his forces continued on to win glory that day. Am I a nerd? Yes.
Yeah, that's a different kind of nerd, though.
But a big smart boy.
Yeah, that's okay.
Love me some history, man. What do you want? Love some history.
And that, by the way, is why I was not putting it in there, because there's no way he could have done all that in like the 30 seconds we would have had for him to talk about it.
I got time. I got time.
Not at the end of the show where it would have been. So, I mean, first hour history lessons are, I'm sure, amazing when you're just trying to get your eyes open.
By the way, if you were curious, Benedict Arnold's plans were discovered by the Americans because of the man that was bringing the notes back and forth between the British officers that were communicating with Benedict Arnold and, of course, Benedict Arnold himself, a man by the name of Jean-André, who was captured by colonials. He, of course, would be executed very shortly after the discovery of the notes. That's how they found out. Benedict Arnold basically had to run away in secrecy to the British Army.
So,
but he would go on to lead the British Army in battles in America after that.
Snitches get stitches actually happened during that time period.
Yeah, basically. So there you go. You came to the Rob Brown Show for sports. You got some. And then you also got smarted up. And I'm sure I may have gotten like one or two things wrong in there. I was doing that off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was all right. Anyway.
Yeah, because for some reason I thought Benedict Arnold was killed for treason.
He was not.
That's okay. All right. So apparently you can get away with that.
He did indeed, as a matter of fact. Now the plan did not come all the way to fruition. Obviously, the keys to West Point, it never got to the point where they were able to get those turned over because Jean-André got caught. But somebody showed up and warned Benedict Arnold. His wife was able to cover for him while he escaped, and then she would follow him later on.
So she was complicit.
She organized the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, the belief is that had he not ended up marrying a known loyalist sympathizer, Benedict Arnold probably would have continued his service in the Colonial Army, in the Continental Army, and likely would have again been mentioned alongside George Washington and Francis Marion and other heroes of the Revolution.
Should have said no to Eve's apple, Benedict, but no, it looked tasty.
Texture said, you do realize you're playing a Civil War song in the background. Come on, do better.
All right.
Hey, we
thank
had to find
you
it on the fly. Okay.
Thank you for accuracy. That is Rob's War Story music. And if you don't like it, go listen to NPR, where I'm sure they're accurate with their music.
I don't know what it says about me that on my sports.
You know, like you're playing Civil War stuff, and it's not even Civil War.
For the record,
It's Revolutionary War. All right, tell me what music I should be playing, Texter.
for the record, they're not wrong.
Okay, fine. You know what?
It's the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Now I'm going to play whatever I want. You know why? Because I always play whatever I want. And if you don't like it, Rob, and if the Texter don't like
I didn't
it,
say I didn't like it.
I don't care.
And now for Revolutionary War History with Rob Brown. Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Yeah, that's more appropriate, apparently.
Oh man, I regret this segment.
Yeah, I think at this moment I feel like retiring because of that Texter. I hope you enjoy what
Texter,
you've done.
You just ruined Lonzo's 25+ year career. Just like that. You jerk.
It's almost 27. It will be 27 in May.
You just ruined an almost 27-year career with a text. You jerk. Unbelievable.
Mission accomplished, Benedict.
Unbelievable. Hey, when we come back, we should probably do some
Not me, I quit.
okay, when we come back, it is time for your water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories you need to know. I'm willing to bet that 1, maybe 2, possibly all 3 may be delivered to you with great zeal by the great Lonzo.
Not anymore, Texter. New Panthers head coach Dave Canellis says the plan to fix Bryce Young doesn't have much to do with Young himself. Canellis said yesterday there's no big plan to fix him, instead saying he believes he'll have to elevate the entire offense. Canellis said his Panther offense will be based on the run game and feature a lot of play action and bootlegs to help Young and the offensive line, which we've been talking about for a while now. The ACC has filed a brief in North Carolina that opposes the motion filed by FSU to dismiss or stay the conference case. Both filings will be heard on March 22nd. In yesterday's filing, the ACC argued the cases should be played out in North Carolina, not Florida, where FSU filed, stating the conference contract is based there as opposed to Florida. Yes, a lawyer wrote that. Tune in tonight at 6:30 as Furman takes on Western Carolina right here on The Fan, Upstate. Shh, Rob doesn't know. He hasn't watched it yet. He's always like one day behind. He's just now watching Raw, so he's like 2 days behind. He's got 37 jobs, so I mean, I'm not gonna crack anymore on the music because I don't want any sons showing up outside to protest. That's the last I'm gonna say about that. Suddenly the station is boycotted because, whatever. So something I played yesterday got our video pulled.
You played yesterday, got a video pulled.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out what it was. Is music I played for 35 seconds, so I'm guessing it might be one of the openings, like for either What the X or Water Cooler. So I'm no longer playing those intros on the stream. We'll see if that
They've been
takes care
playing
of it.
for months.
Yeah, it takes them a while to get. Did you play 35 seconds of the song yesterday? That's the only thing I can think of because I let those intros go, and those music beds I've been playing are supposed to be whitelisted.
Yeah.
That's not my fault. We've had that happen before. I can just stop playing music on the stream. QC in the first break.
QC in the first break. Can I tell you how much I love that during the break, a texter texted in a Revolutionary War music playlist for us. They took their time to go search out, find, and share with us a playlist.
Texter, did you find out if that's whitelisted and okay to play on the stream? Also, do we have licenses in order to play the things that you? I mean, there's a little more involved than just going, "Hey, let me just play this song." It don't work that way anymore. It might have a long time ago, but it doesn't anymore.
Man, that makes me laugh a lot. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate.
By the way, I'm not playing that music anymore. I'm just not. So from now on, the music accompaniment that you would have had underneath the Rob's War Stories, which only happened every once in a while, and when they do, they are very educational. The music helps bring it out. It helps Rob dig deep and bring a little bit more as far as
my inspiration,
as far as energy, and he matches cadence with the music, which is what hosts do when they hear a certain kind of music. You've ruined it for everybody, Texter.
You absolutely, honestly, you've ruined the show.
If you started your day thinking, I'm going to ruin a show and that's going to make my day better, congratulations. There you go. All right. Way to go, you.
Yeah. You just ruined it for everybody. Ruined it for everybody. Apparently our video yesterday, our stream yesterday got flagged for copyright. And Texter said, I told you y'all would be banned for the Lego Batman voice. I don't think that was the problem.
It was for more than 35 seconds.
It was. You're not wrong.
The company that got us banned, I've never heard of before. So
yeah, who cares? Whatever.
It starts with an X or something.
We're gonna keep on keeping on. Was it Elon? Did Elon do it?
No.
Elon heard me talking about AI one too many times.
Or
it's like I'm on to him. I'm on to you, Rob.
You dogged his truck yesterday.
That's what that might have been it.
Where'd it go?
It might have been the fact that I said his truck was ugly and dumb.
And I said it was awesome and futuristic, but your negativity outweighed my positivity.
That's what it was,
and got us taken off the air. Way to go!
For sure, that's what it was. That's my bad, Elon. It's on me. Hey, would you look at that? It's 7:03 in the morning. It's almost time for you to get your lazy butt to work. And when you get there, it will be almost time for you to take a well-earned, well-deserved break. And when that happens, you're going to walk down the hallway. You're going to head over to the water cooler. You are going to meet maybe your boss, maybe your coworkers. Dare I say, some of you may even refer to your coworkers as friends. And you're going to want to talk sports. And when you want to talk sports, you're going to need this.
Girl. Uh-uh.
Oh, Bianca. It's the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet Top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you go start talking sports at the office today. This is the Water Cooler Cheat Sheet. Let us begin, my dear, dear friends, with item number 1. The Atlantic Coast Conference is preparing itself for March 22nd because on March 22nd, there is a scheduled hearing of Florida State's grievances against the ACC. We have had this discussion many times. You will recall that Florida State's chief complaint against the conference is that they negotiated, and they set up, executed a grant of rights agreement dumbly. Basically, what Florida State is claiming is that the ACC did not have the forward thinking to come up with a better grant of rights agreement than they did, and it damaged all the schools within the conference. And because of it, those schools within the conference have no way out, and because it is particularly injurious, they should be relieved of that contract and its expectations by a federal court. Florida State filed that motion in the Sunshine State of Florida. And a large chunk of the reason they did is not just because they, along with most people with a brain, expect that courts in Florida will be much more sympathetic to the plight of the Noles, especially considering most people in Florida believe that FSU got screwed in the playoffs and basically got screwed because they are an ACC member, a second-class citizen in the world of collegiate conferences. Florida also has some of the most robust antitrust laws of any state in the union, and Florida State is going to argue that this is effectively falling under the jurisdiction of antitrust laws. The ACC has now filed a new motion. The motion that the ACC filed yesterday, they filed in the beautiful state of North Carolina. Come on and raise up. The belief is that the motion brought forward by Florida State University should be heard in North Carolina, not in Florida. The ACC is making the argument that, hey, this is a contract that was created in, drawn up in, and signed in North Carolina. And therefore, it should be heard. It should be debated in North Carolina. Now, both of these motions are scheduled to be heard on March 22nd. Florida State is hoping that the second motion that they put through, which effectively says, hey, everything the I'm dumbing this down because I'm an idiot. Everything the NCAA says, no, scratch that. Everything the ACC says is dumb and stupid and bad, and you shouldn't listen to them. Throw every one of their claims out and just deal with what we have brought to the table. The NCAA has said the same thing about Florida State. We're going to find out here in a little over 3 weeks about how this is going to play out. So keep an eye on that, because that next round of hearings is vastly important in this process. And as I have mentioned many times, when some of you have said, Rob, we get it, you're from Florida, quit with the Florida stories, you, dear friend, are missing the weight behind this story.
Wait, you're from Florida?
I may have been there a time or 2 or 3 or 34 something years worth. So kinda. The reason that this story has weight here in the beautiful Palmetto State of South Carolina is because, as I have mentioned, Clemson wants out too. Okay. And I don't think, is that a secret? That's not a shock to anybody at this point, is it?
Well, they haven't. Have we heard a confirmed story from someone in charge at Clemson? The rumors are definitely there.
We have not. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I want you to think about this. There are things on the books called whistleblower laws. If you whistleblow, if you come forward and provide evidence and prove that a company is doing something illicit or illegal, when you do that, there are laws in place to protect you. Protect you from what, you might ask? Protect you from repercussions within that business world and from that company specifically. You cannot be beat down on because you came forward with some sort of action that hurt the company when they were doing something bad. Can't do it. Basically, a lot of us have been in a position where there's been something we really wanted to speak out against, but we couldn't do it. Or we were afraid to do it. Why? Because you knew that if you did, the boss or the manager or the CEO or whoever else, there was a good chance that after you spoke out, and if you created a situation for them that they had to deal with, they might make your life suck. And you might not want to do that. So if you're Clemson right now and you do want out, the smartest way to handle it is to not say anything. Why? Because if Florida State gets it handed to them in the courts, if the courts come back and they go, hey, Knowles, we get it. Your feelings are hurt. You're upset. But unfortunately, you did sign the contract. You agree, even if they were bad terms, the ACC did the best they could at the time, and you agreed at the time it was the best they could do, and you signed it. You're stuck. Good luck in 2036. Well, the FSU franchise brand will still have to play inside of the ACC. And who's to say that some folks up in the ACC that are maybe a little tired of FSU trying to implode the product might not make their lives a little bit more difficult down the road. Here's the position the Clemson Tigers are in right now. Even though they may agree with Florida State, even though they may be ready to be out like Florida State, there's no need for them to go out there on the offensive and create a situation where down the line there could be retaliation because either Florida State's going to win the court case and they're going to somehow legally get the ACC dissolved and they can leave. Well, guess what? Clemson can be right out the door as well. Or FSU will get their asses handed to them in the court. They will get smacketh down. They will not be able to go anywhere. And now FSU's got to take the brunt from the ACC while Clemson knows we're screwed. We can't go anywhere. We're going to have to try to ride this thing out, survive till 2036, and then get ourselves into one of the major conferences. And they won't have the smacketh down laid upon them like the Noles will being within the conference. It makes no sense for Clemson to come out and say anything about this. It makes all the sense in the world for them to sit right there on the sideline, watch the game pick out, watch the game finish up, and whoever wins, go, I was rooting for you the whole time. If Florida State gets it disbanded, Clemson can go ahead, dissolve their contract with the conference as well, and go, thanks, Knowles, see you on the other side. And if the ACC ends up winning all this litigation, Clemson can then call up Jim Phillips and go, we're so dadgum proud of you. We love you. Have we told you how much we love you lately? Just make sure our check cash is in full. We would never go anywhere. It makes sense for them to ride the fence. That's exactly what they're doing. Let's get to item number 2. There's a couple of these stories today that I want to get to over the course of the 4 hours of the radio broadcast, but let's go ahead and throw one of these here. In the All-Star game, there were 397 total points scored. When the game was over, the face of the National Basketball Association, nay, the face of basketball globally. Lonzo, if I asked you right now, who's the face of basketball, what would your answer be? All of basketball.
LeBron James.
LeBron James is the correct answer. LeBron was in the media. He said, quote, "This is what a lot of the regular season games are starting to look like too." He said there's probably too many points being scored. The NBA scoring explosion is not new. In the 2003-04 season, NBA teams averaged 93.4 points per game. The NBA has seen a scoring increase year over year, every year since that year. That is peaked this season. Teams right now, great one, are averaging 115.4 points per game, the most in more than 50 years.
I'll say, I thought I remember like back in the mid to late 80s, there being, something like this, a lot of 100-point games.
You probably saw more 100-point games than ever before.
Well, probably just Celtics doing it, and
also true. It was like the Celtics and the Lakers.
Yeah, that's probably
and then a
what
bunch of cannon fodder in the middle. There were 2 Harlem Globetrotters and 25 Washington Generals. By the way, I want a Washington Generals jersey. I want the bad guys jersey. Why not?
Are they bad guys or losers? I mean, it depends on how you look at it,
Yeah,
I suppose.
I gotta tell you, it's kind of obnoxious. The Globetrotters just embarrass them constantly, week in and week out.
I hope they make good money.
I did read somewhere they've won, like, the Generals have won like 3 times in history. I want to see a Generals win one day. Anyway, the league's competition committee has, according to Joe Dumas, I'm your number one Dumas, Mr. Dumas. According to Joe Dumas, who talked to Tim Bontemps and Kevin Pelton.
A lot of French there.
It's just Kevin Pelton, but after you say Tim Bontemps.
Yeah, well, or it's all being done in Canada.
He said, quote, "The league's competition committee has officially begun reviewing whether the game is tilted too far toward offense and whether changes need to be implemented to achieve better balance."
This is all because of the All-Star game.
Oh, 100%.
That's why this is.
100%. People looked at the All-Star game, and when you got LeBron James coming out after the All-Star game and basically all but admitting that game was boring with 394 points scored, when LeBron James, the guy that if you ask certain NBA fans, is the biggest beneficiary of the league being tilted towards the offensive side of the court, comes out and says, this is just what the league is now, and says so in a detrimental to the league kind of fashion, it doesn't shock me they're going to change. Can I just, if I could speak for just one moment, just the briefest of seconds to the NBA competition committee. I can make this really, really simple for you, and I will do it here in a matter of seconds, and you're welcome in advance. If you will, just enforce the rules of basketball, problem solved. Okay? It's all you got to do. Hell, I would be willing to bet if you just called travels with some regularity, if you just called travels when travels happen, that average is probably coming down 10 to 12 points in a night. Just call the basic rules of basketball the way the rules are written, and this will plummet, dudes.
Aren't you curious about what the referees are told is traveling exactly? Because maybe they're told that you can take 4 steps.
You ready for the nerdiest thing I'm going to say this week? You'll love this. Here's the nerdiest thing I'm going to say this week. This is something that I am going to be told. That was a dumb thing to say on the radio, but I don't hold back. I'm me. What do you want? Rob Brown loves some Dungeons and Dragons. All right? Fun game to play with the boys. Good night to sit around the table, drink some bourbon, and pretend to be cool. Okay? Rob Brown is a dungeon master I used to be. Now I'm busy, but I used to DM games. And one of the things that you learn when you were a DM is what they call the rule of cool, which is everything that every little magic spell and every little action in this game has rules to it. In order to do this thing, you must have this equipment and you got to do this thing and there's that rule and it works this way and you can't do this. But there's what they call a rule of cool, which is basically if somebody's going to do a thing that results in this really cool moment in the game, you might let them get away with something, right? Like they don't have that thing that they would need, but it's not a big thing. And if they do this thing, they slay the dragon or knock off the evil king or whatever the case might be. So you go, I'm going to let them get away with this because this is going to be a really cool moment that we all celebrate. I'm relatively sure, Great One, because you totally understand what I'm talking about, as do about 2% of the people listening to the show. I actually believe NBA refs officiate via the rule of cool. That is to say, they'll call the travel if it's not like connected to anything. But if Luka is sitting on his third consecutive triple-double and he needs this basket to fall to get it, and he Euro steps into the lane and takes one too many, or if Braun drives down the right side, outraces the defender and takes 4 steps, but he ends up throwing down a windmill one-hand tomahawk dunk, that's a cool moment, man. And you don't want to take away that cool moment from the fans because that's what they bought a ticket for. I thoroughly believe the NBA officiates with the rule of cool in mind. I'll tell you how I know this. Yeah, literally yesterday, while this discussion was getting fired up, I saw a video on YouTube that blew my mind. There was a very low-level college game that took place, and all these people were popping off. There was a kid outside the three-point line, about 6 feet outside of the line, 6 seconds left on the clock, something like that. He's dribbling. He's lining up his defender, right? He's setting him up. I was going to act it up, but I don't want to stand up. I'm lazy. He's setting him up for the 3, for the game winner, right? And he dribble drives right, but then he picks the ball up, Zoe, takes a step back, then hops back another step. That's a travel, right? That's a travel. And he lets up a buzzer beater and it drops. The ref blows the whistle and he goes, travel, points the other way. Basket's no good. Team's now going to lose. And it was just 1,000 comments from people that were like, dog, you can't call travel in that situation. Bruh, you just took this kid's all-time cool moment away from him. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He called a travel. Literally all he did was call a travel. And what I realized is the mindset because of this in the basketball world has shifted over to we would rather have these cool, iconic posters than actually have basketball played the right way. I'm going to tell you right now, NBA competition committee, let me make it real easy for you. Just call traveling. I'm not even asking for like, get really specific on fouls and paint and clocks and all this. If you just call travel, I promise you the scores are going to come down 10 to 20 points a game immediately. That average score will go from 115 to 102. I feel like that's an easy one for me.
I agree, and traveling is not really subjective.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not. You did or you didn't. You know, fouls can be a little subjective. What's a foul to one ref might not be to another. What's a foul to this guy might not be to that guy. Travel is travel. Travel is travel. If you pick up the basketball, you get a step. That's it. That's the rule. That's it. You get a step on the way to the basket. That's it. Just call, if the NBA called travels and double dribbles, the average score would go from 115 to 105. I promise.
Carries too. There's a lot of carries.
Just really, if you just call possession rules, right? Travels, double dribbles, carries. If you just call travels, double dribbles, and carries, the average score is going from 115 per team per night to 100 per team per night. And the game would not be worse for it. All right. I want to get to item number 3, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold item number 3 over to the next segment, because to me, item number 3 deserves its own segment. Dave Canellis grabbed a mic. He is the head coach of our Carolina Panthers. Grabbed a mic yesterday up in Indianapolis, Indiana, and did so at the scouting combine. And he got asked some questions about Bryce Young, about the offense, and about the direction that it is going to go in. What did Dave say about BY? How's he going to fix him? Well, I'll tell you what Dave said about BY when we come back. That guy over there is the great one, Lonzo. I'm Rob Brown. It's the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, got a live read right here. Y'all stay right there. We'll be right back.
Keep lighting that stupid electric candle though. I gotta talk to them about that.
Oh, is he a candle guy? Are you not a candle guy?
I thought Mark had taken care of that.
Oh, I'm a big candle
It
guy.
messes me up. I can't breathe.
Really?
Neither can Odie, neither can Mark.
I'm a big candle. I love candles. Any of y'all candle guys? Or candle gals?
I can't handle strong smells. Smith in the next break.
Smith in the next break. The Rob Brown Show carries on. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob of the Great One Lonzo with you here on a, what is it, Wednesday? Yeah, it's a Wednesday. Here on a Wednesday.
Yeah, let's go with Wednesday. Let's do
It's
that.
Wednesday, right? Isn't it Wednesday?
It is Wednesday.
Okay. You had me doubt myself for just a second there.
Just, NXT was last night. Raw was Monday.
Yes,
Tonight
it
is
was.
AEW Dynamite. So if you just think about what wrestling's on, you'll know. But you're like 2 days behind on
I
wrestling.
am. I'm catching.
So-
I still haven't finished Raw yet. I got NXT to catch up on. I am way behind.
NXT was really good, by the way.
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard. I'm very excited about getting caught up. Elimination Chamber was chalky but good. I'm a bit of the way through Raw. Pretty good start. All right. Wrestling's good right now. Let's get to some more stuff. Dave Kanellis is the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. He is the new head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Dave Kanellis yesterday got in front of a microphone in Indianapolis, Indiana. And in doing so, he was, of course, and obviously asked about, hey, Dave, how you gonna fix Bryce Young? Bryce threw 11 touchdowns last year. It is the lowest touchdown total of any quarterback ever who had at least 500 passing attempts in a season. All right. There are guys who had a lower touchdown to completion ratio, lower touchdown to attempts ratio. But when you wrap it up to guys who threw 500 passes in a season, BY had fewer touchdowns than anybody else. Now, why did that happen? It really depends on who you ask. All right. I have my thoughts on why. Lonzo has his. Rashad has his. We all have different thoughts on why that happened. And probably all of us are a little bit right and all of us are a little bit wrong. We do all, and this is true, no ball. So Dave Kanellis got asked, yo, how you gonna fix BY? And Dave Kanellis, when asked what his plan was to fix Bryce Young, said, and I quote, "There's no big plan to fix him. For me, it's about building an offense that we can be proud of, something that is tough, something that is smart, something that takes care of the football." Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first coach speak moment of the Dave Kanellis era. We have entered coach speak territory.
So you're not happy about this because to me, it's like Dave walked in. Okay, let me see our personnel. Okay, this offensive line looks like it's pretty good. Running the ball. These running backs are pretty good. You know what? This should be a running team. What have we been saying for years now?
You more than anybody else, just to give you the flowers you so rightfully deserve.
This should be a running team. That's what he said. So finally, someone looked and realized, hey, the Panthers historically has been a running team. They're built as a running team. Maybe we should run the ball.
Dave Kanellis went on to say, quote, "It's really elevating the whole group and just asking Bryce to do his part of it." So
manage.
As a second-year guy playing his true rookie career this year, yes, I completely agree.
A game manager will be a step up from what we saw last year.
I don't
whether
disagree.
it's his fault or not, it still would be a step up.
My concern last year, and the reason that you and I and a lot of other people thought that we ultimately probably should have seen a couple of games led by Andy Dalton. My primary reason for that was not Andy Dalton's better. My primary reason was not Andy Dalton's going to work better with the talent. My primary reason was, please don't break BY in his rookie year. Please don't break him. Please don't break him. I don't want him to sweat too much. I agree. Don't break the guy. Okay.
I'm gonna send a tweet to Too Short and ask him to have words with you.
So Kanellis said that he does not believe that Bryce Young was the problem. He said he believed the problem was that the rookie was being put in situations that did not play to his strengths. He said, quote, "He's got the same tools that we saw a year ago." Kanellis said the first thing he wants to do is he wants to shrink the pass game down, not in terms of number of routes or schemes, but in terms of not running 4 and 5 wide receivers every time, which, by the way, is a good decision because Carolina doesn't have 4 or 5 receivers to justify running a 4 or 5 receiver set. That is something that I was, in some people's cases, quite literally screaming on this show during last season. It is pointless to run a 5 receiver set when you've got 3 receivers. It is you would be better served to keep 4 and 5 in as blockers to give BY time to let 1, 2, and 3, the only NFL caliber guys in the wide receiver room, and one of them barely at that, out there running a 3 pattern attack with extra blockers to give BY more time because your offensive line also, and this is true, bad. And you don't want to deal with that. So Canella said that the first thing he wants to do is to teach BY a new offense that is not based on 4 and 5 receiver sets. He said he wants to base his offense around, Lonzo, go ahead and get the party music ready, quote, around the run game, end quote. Good. Now.
Sorry, after the Civil War thing, I'm not doing music. You want me to hum a few bars? I might be able to do that.
I do. Okay, let's try it. Dave Canella said he's going to base the offense around the run game.
You're welcome.
Dang, I thought KC was in the studio for a second. I thought the Sunshine Gang was out in the hallway for a moment.
It's Cool in the Gang, but celebrate with some Cool in the Gang.
That's right. Dang it, I knew that.
Wow, it was going so well too.
I knew that.
So you just looked at me and think that I'm so old. I'm going to go 70s and not 80s, and
Woohoo!
Yeah, that's still Cool in the Gang.
He said he is planning to base the offense around the run game with a lot of play action passes and bootlegs that will showcase the talent of Young and help keep, and I'm quoting ESPN here, quote, and help their much maligned offensive line. That's a good phrase for it, for sure.
And it rhymed.
Canella said of Young, quote, I just see a really accurate player, a real decisive player. For him, some of the basic things that for any quarterback improvements is footwork. Let's continue to grow more specific to the pass concept, more specific to who is this person running the route.
Okay.
Different receivers run the same route. It could be 3 different things. That's a coaching thing. Maximizing some of his abilities are going to help that.
All right. This is the first thing he said that bothers me. I see a really accurate quarterback. Where? I mean, there are a couple passes he was accurate on, and you can blame it on the receivers. But there were some really bad passes last year. There really were, where you're just like, oh, he's regressing. He needs to sit down. That guy was wide open, and that ball wasn't anywhere near him.
You are dangerously close to sending me to go find the graph, because I still have the graph.
The graph was a lie.
The graph was perfect.
It was not. It was not. It's so 2023. Let's move on. It's 2024, Rob. We're almost 3 months into.
You just talked about 2023.
Yeah, and
the graph also talks about 2023.
You know who believed that graph? You. That's it. Just you.
Listen. Opinions can be bad. Numbers never lie.
I'm doubting the authenticity of the graph.
I showed you the numbers on the graph. The graph.
I've seen you do graphics work. I'm looking at some of it right now on the screen, and you could have made that graph yourself.
I did not make that graph.
But you could have.
The sources for the graph were on the graph. Showed you the sources of the graph.
Okay.
For those of you who don't remember.
No, Shane. Graph, we're not giving. No.
Shane, I'm going to go get them the graph. Give the people what they want. The people want the graph. For those of you who don't know the graph, about midway through the season last year, they started putting out graphs that chart QB performance. And one of the graphs that jumped off the page, metaphorically, of course, at me, was a graph that showed the accuracy rates of quarterbacks when throwing into open windows, as well as showing the number of open windows. Open windows being windows in which the quarterback had a wide receiver that had 1 or more yards of separation from the nearest defender. When Bryce Young had an open window, he hit open windows at a higher accuracy rate than every other quarterback in the National Football League. The problem was that while he hit open windows with a higher accuracy than every other quarterback in the National Football League, he had fewer open windows than every other quarterback in the National Football League. I mean, cricket me all you want to. The numbers are the numbers, and there is only one thing in our existence that doesn't lie, and it is numbers. BY had fewer open windows to throw into than any other NFL quarterback, but when he had open windows, he hit them with a higher accuracy than any other quarterback in the National Football League.
I just want to play the whole cut because you said all I wanted, and
it's all I ever wanted. It's all I ever needed. Yeah. So tell me what to do now. Here's the thing that the folks who think BY's not the guy don't want to tell you. Accuracy ain't the issue. Accuracy's never been the issue.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
Wait, there it is.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
It's not that I don't understand your perspective. It's just that your perspective is dumb.
That's the one you should have gone with in the beginning. That's a good
hell
one.
Up.
That's a good one. The guy's accurate. The guy's accurate. Statistically, empirically, provably accurate.
By the way, Shane is coming to your defense also on stream. You can see us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or the X. I just want to say, I hope you're right. I hope Shane is right. I want the Panthers to do well. They are my NFC team. I want them to do well. They haven't in a really long time. I hope he's the answer. I hope he's the guy. I hope he's the MVP of the league this year. Wouldn't that be an amazing turnaround?
That'd be awesome.
It's probably not going to happen, though. I mean,
he's the MVP, Dave Canellis is coach of the year, and suddenly rising ticket prices make sense.
That's true. That's very true. And then you'll be like, yeah, Tepper is a visionary. He saw this coming.
A revolutionary?
Maybe.
An architect, even?
Man, now I'm picturing Tepper dressed like that. Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?
I have, I think, laid down the roadmap to success for the Carolina Panthers. Part of it is to give BY better weapons on the outside. It's not that complicated. It's really not that hard. You had the worst 1 to 5 wide receiver core in the NFL last year. Again, empirically, the worst 1 to 5 wide receiver room in the NFL last year.
Wow, you dropped an empirically, man.
Because that matters. Jacob said, new year, new graph. I hope so. I hope we come in here, and I hope that little BY dot that was up in the left corner that said he hit open windows better than anybody else, but had fewer windows than anybody else. I hope that average size BY dot. I hope we watch it over the course of the season. Slide to the right. Slide to the right. Let's take a break. Come back here. We'll wrap up our number one. Texter says, if Bryce Young is the answer, the question must be, name a top 5 quarterback bust of all time. I'd blame Frank Reich. Still, to this day. I didn't like the hire when it got made. I don't like the hire now.
Well, why don't you blame Urban Meyer, too, while you're at it? Why not?
The fault lies with Bill Vinovich. It's Bill Vinovich's fault. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate.
Smith.
All right, guys, one more live reading. We're coming right back. Y'all stay right there. right, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being here. Team Graph, baby. Team Graph. Always Team Graph. Numbers don't lie.
They do if they're not accurate numbers.
Then they wouldn't be the numbers. They would just be some numbers.
One of those fun nights last night where I woke up every single hour.
Ugh. I blew it and took a nap yesterday and then slept through wake up time. So I ended up taking like a 3.5 hour nap in the middle of the day. Wrecked myself.
I also had nightmares because you shouldn't eat chocolate before you go to bed. Anytime I do, I have nightmares. It's weird.
You know what I had yesterday for dinner unconsciously without even thinking about it? Chicken nuggets. I had like 2 and was like, oh, why am I doing this?
I had nuggets yesterday too, but I didn't eat. How many did you eat? 75?
75.
Yeah. This is going to be another struggle day, though, if it stays like this all day.
Yep.
Even though it was so nice this morning.
I am trying. Today's the first time in a while that I am writing down work that I don't have to do that I'm going to do today to keep myself awake. The problem is, by staying up that late last night, I got to watch a lot of good basketball. And I remembered how much I love watching nighttime basketball.
I'm going to blame the new cat on part of it. She comes in, she falls asleep in front of me. She's yawning the entire time. Try not to look at it. And then, you know, when someone's sleeping right or something is sleeping right there, next thing you know, you're joining them. It just happens.
Texter said, Rob, I will make a friendly bet with you. JJ McCarthy will have a better year than Bryce Young, and we don't even know where McCarthy's going yet. I accept.
He may not even play.
I accept.
He might have a better year than Bryce Young.
I accept that bet, and I accept it for a couple of reasons. I will start with this. I don't know what Dave Canellis is. You could argue that there's just as much intrigue about BY's system next year as there is about JJ McCarthy's, because we don't know where McCarthy's going. McCarthy could make it out of the first round undrafted. He could be drafted somewhere in the middle. He could end up going somewhere that already has an ingrained, established quarterback, and as Lonzo said, not play at all next year. In fact, I would argue that's even the most likely. Now, I think J.J. McCarthy's probably coming off the board somewhere around 14, 15, somewhere right in the middle of the pack.
Well, hopefully last year was an anomaly. If it wasn't, all backup quarterbacks will get a chance to play.
Maybe. A lot of injuries last year.
Yep.
So, with all of that being said.
Must have been that hip tackle thing.
I will accept that bet. Now, I acknowledge that there is still one massive piece floating out there. While we don't know where J.J. McCarthy is going to be playing his professional football in his rookie year, or hell, if he's going to be playing professional football his rookie year, because again, he could end up going 16 to somewhere that has an established quarterback, and they want to give him a year or two and groom him for the future. We'll find out.
Or in an amazing move, the Panthers will find a way to move all of their remaining draft picks and draft J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, that's not going to happen.
There's a little bit of doubt in there.
That's not going to happen.
It's just a little bit of doubt.
No, there's not. And there's not, because they are sold out on BY. They cannot not play that guy for like the next 2 seasons. Even if he sucks so bad that I got to get on the mic and go, turns out he sucks. Turns out I was wrong. He's a bust. I'm wearing this.
I hope we don't reach that level.
Me too.
Yeah, because I would like to see an upward trend.
Me too. And also because then I'd have to say I was wrong on the radio, and I personally am not a big fan of that. So
yeah, we noticed.
Yeah, I don't like saying that much at all. So with that being said, I will say it, unlike many hosts, I will say when I'm wrong, but I don't like to. So here's what I'm going to say. I don't know what Dave Canellis is. That's not even the biggest thing. I actually, since I have gone back and watched a little bit more and a little bit more in depth some of the all-22 of Tampa's offense last year, I actually really like it. Dave Canellis' offense was tailored to Baker Mayfield. That's why Baker Mayfield had a year last year. They made it easy on him. You'll notice there weren't a ton of big-time bombs for Baker Mayfield. That's because Baker Mayfield's strength is, though he can throw the deep ball, it's not in buying a ton of time to allow the bomb routes to get set up. Canellis tailored to that. I really liked it. So I am going to go with this. This is going to hinge on whether or not Carolina drafts linemen or wide receivers and what direction they go in with that. Because I've already told you, I think you need to absolutely wreck the free agency market for one group and draft the other. My initial thought was, I think you got to draft all the linemen and go get a bunch of FA dub Rs. Problem is, there's not a lot of free agent wide receivers now. Now, the good news for that is there's a pretty healthy number of free agent offensive linemen. In fact, the Jets just cut one. I think the Dolphins just cut one. Like vets, like good players. So I think you can FA build the OL. The problem is they're not all necessarily specifically built for a Dave Canellis offense. The good news, if you're going that direction, is the wide receiver depth is there in the draft this year. Lonzo and I had this conversation earlier this week. The wide receiver class this year is special. To the point that I think there's a couple of guys that in any other year are probably late 10s, early teens that might be available at the end of the first round.
But outside of trading a good defensive player, there's no way the Panthers get back into the first round. So how many decent receivers, although anybody just about would be an upgrade.
Tell you where I'm sitting right now. I'll trade Brian Burns for a first-round pick to go get Rome Odunze. I'll trade Brian Burns in the first round to go get a Malik Neighbors. I'll trade Brian Burns for a first-round pick if it's high enough that I know that one of those guys is going to be on the board. There's a couple of the guys I like, too. The kid out of Texas is up there. Obviously, I love Marvin Harrison Jr., but I don't think he's making it past 4 at the latest. But I think because Marvin Harrison Jr. is so good, some of these other guys that would otherwise be top 4 or 5 picks might be available at 10, 11. I will trade Brian Burns for a first-round pick to go get a game-changer wide receiver. We'll talk more about it later on in the show. We got a halftime show coming up, and then the second half of the Lonzo's got a sports flash.
I'll be dancing like Usher, whatever his name is before it's over. Usher. The NFL's kickoffs might look different next year. Cowboys EVP Stephen Jones told the media yesterday he anticipates the competition committee to make a one-year change designed to increase the number of kickoff returns. Only 587 of 2,698 were brought back last year. Proposals on the table include the old XFL rule where only the kicker and returner can move until the ball is caught. Carolina Panthers are raising ticket prices. Yes, that's right. By roughly 4%, according to reports out of Charlotte, a rate that outpaces nationwide inflation of 3.4%. Lower level tickets will go up 7%, while upper level seats will go up 1%. Tune in tonight at 6:30 as the Furman men's basketball team takes on Western Carolina right here on your home for Paladins football and basketball, The Fan, upstate. Oh, the quiet. Sorry for the quiet. Concentrating and stuff. Yep. Good morning, Stephen. Never try to import a file while it's still saving, kids. Where's live by? Rob Brown done got lost.
If we're going by performance, they owe me a 4% refund. 4%? That's it? Being very generous to old David.
I think in the fine print it says he charges less for people who are from another team because they're the only ones that show up.
Here we go. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown and the great one, Lonzo, here with you on a relatively dreary Wednesday AM. If you're at work now, you have our most sincere and humble apologies. Stinks for you, but we're still glad you're here. Still glad you're listening. Texas said, Rob, you could just never admit you are wrong like my wife. Hey, just full takedown of the wife on the radio like that, huh?
Is your wife never wrong, though? I mean, it is possible for someone to be never wrong, at least in, when you're around.
Yeah, a lot of people feel that way who believe that they're never wrong. It's true. If if you think you're never wrong, you're never wrong. I respect it.
Is she never wrong because you're never right?
That might be it. That might be it. All right, we talked some Carolina Panthers to wrap up the last hour. I want your thoughts. Any thoughts? Any belief that there's a magic formula here? Dave Canella says there's no big plan to fix BY. The plan is to fix the offense, which, yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Yes!
That's all I need.
Yeah!
That's all I need. Just fix the offense. That's it. That's all I'm looking for.
I mean,
Yes!
Nope.
Yes!
Nope.
Yes!
Nope.
Yes!
All right, stop.
Nope.
We got to stop.
no, because my dream has now come true. Because
Yes.
that was my vision all along. And it's now, wow.
The ACC has responded to FSU's filing in the state of Florida that claims that the Atlantic Coast Conference did not do enough to ensure that the grant of rights agreement that they were entering into was the most beneficial grant of rights agreement that it could have entered into. And, we talked about, I don't know if you remember this story, but we talked earlier was it this year or was it the end of last year? I think it was January of this year, because somehow it's basically March already, because that's how time works. I thought when FSU filed this lawsuit initially, or this hearing, this motion in the state of Florida, for those of you that have asked, not that any of you didn't already know this already, but they filed it in the state of Florida for 3 reasons. Number one, that's, and you may know this about Florida State University, where they are. That's kind of a big one. But I think there's 2 other reasons they filed this in the state of Florida. The first is that they probably think that they're more likely to end up in front of a judge in the state of Florida that is sympathetic to them, because they will either have a connection to, or at least be more familiar with, the fact that FSU got left out of the college football playoff. Now, before one of you fires off the "quit whining, Rob" text, allow me to go one step further with that. It is not that FSU got left out. Florida State is going to, and I think it is appropriate, because there are a few of us still rocking very proudly our tinfoil caps that believe FSU was not left out because of some grand conspiracy against Florida State or against the SEC. FSU was left out because they had to leave out either the ACC or the SEC. And because of not just the product, but because of the entities involved in distributing and therefore profiting off of the product, believed that, and for the record, accurately so, there would be more eyeballs on the product if the SEC was involved than if the ACC was involved. So Florida State is going to, and I don't know how they phrase it, but I will not, shan't be surprised if and when FSU, in their filing in front of whichever judge they ultimately end up in front of, makes some sort of argument that says, hey, if the ACC would have done a better job negotiating their media rights, if they'd have done a better job negotiating their television rights structure, then we too could have possibly been as profitable as the SEC, and we would not have gotten left out. But because the ACC did a bleep poor job of constructing their media rights agreements, we can't be as profitable as the SEC or the Big Ten, and therefore we have been damaged irreparably because of it. That's going to be, and if not the argument that the Noles bring in front of a court. So the Noles say, hey, look, they didn't do a good enough job. Oh, by the way, there was the story, in case you forgot. There was the story that when this GOR was negotiated, that the commissioner of the Atlantic Coast Conference had a son. And the son was currently working for a smaller media company that ended up getting a pretty good, if not disproportionate size of the ACC's media rights. And then the son of the ACC commissioner suddenly got elevated, got promoted to a high-ranking manager's position on said network. So Florida State's going to make the argument. I don't know if they'll be able to prove it or if they'll bring enough heat to the table that the judge will go, okay, you know what? It's justifiably believable that this happened. But FSU is also going to make the argument that the ACC was placing some of its media rights into the hands of a very small, almost invisible network. And then suddenly the son of the commissioner gets a promotion to a high-paying executive's job right after that happened. Coincidental? I think not. That's going to be the argument the Noles make in court. Whether or not it holds up, I don't know. We can't know. We'll find out. The ACC, the Atlantic Coast Conference, has now filed another motion. Florida State's filed in the state of Florida. The ACC's filed in the state of North Carolina. You, of course, know, as you are all incredibly intelligent, smart, super duper people, that the Atlantic Coast Conference is currently based out of the great state of North Carolina, the Tar Heel state itself. The ACC, in response to a filing from Florida State that said, the ACC should not be allowed to file anything until our hearing is addressed. They should not be allowed to race down, and those are words actually used in the description of Florida State's rebuttal to the first ACC filing. The ACC should not be allowed to race to the courthouse to just throw something at us while our hearing is still out there in the wind. The ACC's response to that was, yes, we should be allowed to do that because you are attacking not just our product, not just our contracts, not just our money, but you're also attacking our integrity as an organization. You are attacking our business acumen as an organization at a point in time where we are wildly under threat from the landscape of college football expansion. And while we need to be on our absolute A game, you're out here telling the world that we're a bunch of big dumb idiots, that we're a bunch of morons. So yes, we should be allowed to respond to that. Both of those hearings are out in the wind. Both of those motions are still out there and must be ruled upon. But the ACC has now filed another motion. And in this motion, they are making the argument that Florida State's hearing, the one on the actual validity of the contract, the one on whether or not the ACC actually put in the legwork to ensure that the media rights deals that they signed that led to the grant of rights agreement that are the thing locking FSU and, oh, by the way, your Clemson Tigers into the ACC, and watching the budget of that conference stagnate, plateau, level out while they watch the budgets of the SEC and the Big Ten, yes, within the next 4 years, double them. South Carolina will be getting paid $80 to $90 million a year by the SEC, while Clemson is going to be getting paid somewhere in the network of 40 to 45. Now, quick question, Lonzo. If you and I are both trying to, let's say, build a house, and I have $1 million and you have $500,000, which house do you suspect is going to be nicer?
I'm guessing it's probably going to be yours.
Probably going to be mine, because, and some of you who live out in ideal world may not think that this is true. You are, of course, wrong. Some of you believe that money can't accomplish more than not money, but a dream. I have real bad news for you. In the real world, money gets stuff done. Not money gets nothing done. You can have all the dreams in the world. You got to have somebody bankroll it. Okay? You just have to have investors. So, while Florida State and Clemson are watching their rivals in the Southeastern Conference get paid $90 million plus a year moving forward, they are going to be getting paid roughly half that same amount. And they are saying, hey, look, we are in an untenable situation. We can't survive like this. We're going to get outclassed. We're going to get lapped. We're going to get passed. We're going to get absolutely left in the dust here. We got to do something about it. So Florida State takes their court case to a federal court in the state of Florida, a state that, again, as I mentioned, A, they are in, B, they are hoping they will catch a judge that is sympathetic to them based on what happened last year, and C, a state which has some of the most rigid antitrust laws in the game. Florida State is hoping that those rigid antitrust laws will apply to this situation, that the judge that has to follow those rules, those laws, is going to look at those antitrust laws and say, you know what? Upon further review, I actually think that these antitrust laws do indeed have a place in this discussion. I think that these antitrust laws do indeed apply to the ACC and therefore to this lawsuit. And because of that, I say I striketh down the grant of rights. And if the grant of rights is strucketh down by the judge in question here, Florida State can then make the jump over to, I suspect, the Big Ten. But guess what? So can Clemson, or to the SEC, or wherever they're going to end up. Because yes, those two schools, both of them will be coveted by one of, if not both of those two power conferences. So while this is happening, the ACC is absolutely looking at this. They are looking at the antitrust laws in the state of Florida, and they're going, yo, those are real bad for us. If those indeed come into play in this lawsuit, we might be in trouble. So how do you get around that? You filed a motion that the ACC filed yesterday. The ACC filed a motion in the state of North Carolina that said Florida State's hearing, Florida State's motion, we know it's going to go through. We know it's going to be placed in front of a court. We know that it is going to be heard by a judge. But the contract was made in North Carolina. The contract was made in North Carolina by an entity that resides in North Carolina. The contract was made by and signed off on a company that resides in North Carolina and signed by an institution that, while based in Florida, approved the contract in North Carolina. And so because of all of those things, this hearing should be based in North Carolina. Why should it be based in North Carolina? Well, the ACC is going to argue it's a North Carolina contract made by a North Carolina entity approved and signed by the Florida entity in the state of North Carolina. But am I ever so humble yet frequently correct and hardly ever wrong, though I admit when I am opinion? North Carolina's antitrust laws are not as stringent as the state of Florida's. North Carolina will likely provide the ACC with a little bit more room to breathe if the antitrust laws do indeed come into play in Florida State's motion in front of the court. All of these rulings, as I understand it, are set to take place on March 22nd. Florida State's first hearing about dismissing the ACC's responses is set for March 22nd. The North Carolina motion filed by the ACC, that motion should take place in North Carolina, will also be heard on the 22nd. So I'm going to go ahead and forewarn you, March 22nd, depending on what time these hearings take place. I suspect we probably will not, by the end of this show on March 22nd, have any news and information for you. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, this show on March 23rd might get real spicy. Might get real spicy, depending on what these rulings come back and look like. I am very intrigued. Very intrigued. And as a Clemson fan, if you are one, and frankly, as a South Carolina fan too, because I have already said a number of times, I think that both Florida State and Clemson end up in the Big Ten. When the ACC dies, and the ACC, Zoe, any pushback, the ACC is going to die, right?
Yeah, it's just a matter of when.
Yeah. Right now, we're on the beep, beep, beep part of the thing that goes beep, 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 beep. We're on the beep, beep, beep. Like they're breathing. They're good. But there's a tube shoved up the nose, man. They're in the last bed they're ever going to lay in. So at some point, the ACC is going to die. Whether it is in 2024, 2025, 2036, it is going to die. And I think that when it does, Clemson and Florida State probably both end up in the Big Ten, but there are a lot of folks out there that believe there's going to come a point where both the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference are national conferences. There's no more geographical regions to plant a flag. So if this happens now, I think Florida State and Clemson end up in the Big Ten. But if this happens in, let's say, 3 or 4 years from now, the Big Ten's got a footprint in California, in Oregon. The SEC, I suspect, eventually will end up with a footprint, probably more over in the Southwest than in the Pacific Northwest. But they will likely end up with a footprint too. There will come a point where there's no more regions to plant flags. Now it's just about having the most big brands. If you're a South Carolina fan, you should be interested in this one too, because I firmly suspect that the longer that this is dragged out, the closer towards 2036 we get, with the ACC still breathing, still on life support, still existing, the more likely it is that one, if not both of these schools end up in the Southeastern Conference. Maybe they go their own ways. They can go their own way, AA. And one of them ends up in your conference, South Carolina. One of them ends up as direct competition to you in your conference. So to me, while this story is, when it comes to talking football, not the most thrilling thing in the world, it kind of is. Because on March 23rd, we might have a real good idea of what direction we're pointed in. Does the ACC's motions get outright dismissed? Does the ACC's motion not get dismissed, but the courts decide that this is all going to be heard in Florida? Does the ACC motion not get dismissed and the courts say, yep, it was a North Carolina contract, we're going to hear it in North Carolina? Depending on which of those realities end up shaking out, could very well dictate the future of where these two schools land and all the schools that are waiting around as well. Pittsburgh and Syracuse and The school, Boston College, these schools really, really, really want the ACC to win. Stanford, SMU, Cal, these schools really want the ACC to win. Miami, North Carolina, probably Duke, NC State if they get some help from the North Carolina government, Florida State, Clemson, maybe Georgia Tech. All of those schools are really paying attention to Florida State right now. They may all very much, I know Clemson does, want Florida State to get the benefit of all of these hearings. Because if they do, and Florida State can find a way out, then everybody else gets to go along for the ride, and they all get to go find the honeypot. We'll see how it plays out. March 22nd March 22nd is going to be a big day. March 23rd is going to be a big show. Texas said they say money doesn't buy happiness, but it sure does fix a lot of the problems. You ain't wrong. You ain't wrong. Let's take a break. We're back after this. Rob Lonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. You can go your
Okay, my way is going to the restroom.
Do. Dig it down. Do. All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. I'm going to go grab a cough drop while we got a break. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. Good to have everybody. Grimberg's doing the old man thing with his glasses.
He is no man. Ooh, did that stop? What? Why did that stop recording? That's a different network. It's being done.
Your janky phone. According to the state newspaper, South Carolina reports 6 NCAA violations during the 2023 calendar year. Ohio State just did too, actually.
Everybody violating
Everybody violating.
the rules.
Stop violating.
The rules, yes.
And each other.
Well, that
Weirdos.
probably shouldn't do that either. All right, you shouldn't do it. There's no probably.
You should not.
Yeah, you should not.
Don't violate nobody. Everybody violating up in here. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful to have you with us here on the show. Let's take just a minute to talk a bit of drama in the world. We all love some drama in sports. I've told you this many, many times in the past. Drama is what makes sports so splendiferous and spectacular, man. It is what makes sports awesome. We love drama. You can say you don't. You can lie. You can tell me you don't love drama, but you do. If drama wasn't drama, we wouldn't care about sports. And I'm talking about drama on the field or track or court or whatever it is you're playing on. But I'm also talking off of it as well. Golf hit its crescendo, its peak in popularity when Tiger Woods broke onto the scene. And it wasn't just because Tiger Woods was a good golfer, because Tiger Woods is obviously this is true, very good golfer, or at least was a very good golfer. But Father Time remains undefeated. He's even going to get LeBron at some point. Tiger Woods, when he broke onto the scene, brought golf to the height of its popularity for a bunch of different reasons. Not the least of which was it sparked, whether we like to admit it or not. Tiger Woods sparked a generational debate in the world of golf. What do you mean, Rob? I'm very glad you asked. When Tiger Woods came onto the scene, I have told you guys this in the past. Rob Brown was a very young man. Rob Brown was in his teenage years when Tiger Woods became a great golfer. And Rob Brown very, very much remembers a long, long time ago, because I was a golfer. As Lonzo loves to point out, I was a 1%er. Of course I played golf. I lived on a golf course, nose held high in the air. And I remember during a specific portion of the early part of my career when Rob Brown on his lunch break would walk across the street to the municipal golf course. It's the Muni. That's not the rich people course, okay? And I would go, and you would go to the vending machine, the golf ball vending machine, and for like $5, you could fill up this big bucket with range balls, and then you walk over to the range and hit some golf balls. And I remember there was this very interesting point of time where when you would go to the range, you would see over here your traditional golfers, your retired guys, your guys who golfed every day. And then over there,
fat guys with white hair.
Not all of us, all right? Some of us were fat guys with black hair.
No, I was going to say you were a kid
at the
then.
time.
So, okay, all right.
And then on the other side of the range, you would see a whole new group of golfers. You'd see young people. You'd see young folks. You'd see high schoolers. You'd see middle schoolers, elementary schoolers. You'd see kids getting lessons. And you'd see young folks, but not just young folks, but, and I don't think there's anything wrong with pointing out, you saw a demographic shift too. All of the sudden, you saw young black kids and Asian kids out there. You saw young minority golfers that you'd never seen on that golf course before. And not only were they out there, but they were practicing. They were getting good. All of the sudden, the video game generation was in. All of a sudden, Tiger Woods puts out a video game with EA Sports, and it becomes one of the highest grossing games year after year on any console. There was a generational war wrapped up in golf because you had the young kids that wanted to be part of the game because Tiger made it cool, man. It was very much the same generational battle that took place in the world of Major League Baseball when Ken Griffey Jr. was the coolest guy to ever do a sports. Ken Griffey Jr. had kids being benched by their coach for wearing their hats backwards. Me. It was the same generational battle, but now it went to a bastion of a sport that was, sorry to say it, considered to be, if not actually ruled, by older white folks. Tiger opened the door to an entire new generation and entire new demographics in the world of golf. And there was a bit of generational conflict there. And it produced some drama. It was really entertaining. Golf has drama again. See, when Tiger started to fall off, the drama kind of went away because there wasn't really that next dominant golfer. There wasn't a replacement for Tiger Woods. There were a lot of really good players. There were the Rory McIlroys and the Ricky Fowlers. But there wasn't really like that guy. Ricky Fowler, I don't know if you remember, Zoe. Ricky Fowler for a while tried to be the cool guy. He was out there in the bright orange and bright pink outfits with the flat billed cap. Like he tried to be that cool guy, but he didn't have it like Tiger had it. He didn't have that something that made you latch on. He didn't have the that thing that he could kick open the door and say hello to the bat. And you believed him. You went, yes, that's the guy. Love him or hate him, that's the guy. Like Tiger Woods did. And now, in fairness, Tiger had it because Tiger just absolutely kicked everybody's for years. And because he did that, you had the old guys who were, oh, no. It's always going to be Arnold Palmer. It's Arnie's Army. And then the young people going, no, Grandpa, get off the course. It's our time now. It's Tiger's time. We don't really have that anymore. That guy's not there. But for a while, we had it. Golf is best, as is every other sport, when there is drama involved in it. Now we got a little bit. I think maybe we got a little bit. The Live Tour thing has provided a lot of drama in the world of golf. Whether you're pro Live Tour, anti-Live Tour, whether you respect the moves made by, I don't know, Rory McIlroy, or you hate it. I, for one, kind of disappointed in Rory McIlroy. Rory McIlroy was the voice that stood in opposition to the Live Tour. And he gave those of us who were, and for some of us remain, highly opposed to the Live Tour, just its existence. He gave us a golfer to latch on to root for, to pull for. And then one day, he stopped doing that. And then we found out like 6 days later, it was because the PGA Tour had entered into negotiations with the Live Tour to create some sort of merger. Now, thankfully, in my opinion, that hasn't happened yet, but it's coming down the pipe. It got put off because the PGA Tour has a $3.1 billion investor on the hook. And if they can get $3.1 billion, all of a sudden the Saudi money isn't quite what they thought it was going to be. But the fact that he backed off of it was kind of disappointing. Then you have Tiger Woods. For a while, Tiger Woods was very anti-Live Tour. And now he's kind of like, kumbaya, can't we all just get along? And it's like, dude, some of us really don't want to. But now we find out from Jon Rahm, who, by the way, is on the Live Tour, that maybe there is still some of that going on in the background, but because the PGA Tour has entered into negotiations with the Live Tour, maybe there's still some of that in the background, but the PGA guys are trying to, keep it quiet, keep it on the back burner, not rock the boat, because whether or not the negotiations prove successful, whether or not there is some major golf merger down the line, those guys still have to play under the PGA Tour banner. And if the PGA Tour decides, hey, Tiger or whoever, Rory or whoever, tried to train wreck our negotiations in a world in which our opponents have the unlimited money cheat code turned on and we have to do something to exist, to survive, if they are viewed as train wreckers, they might, much like we talked about with Clemson and the ACC, be treated somewhat poorly by that entity in whatever shape or form it takes in the near future. Now, why do I say that? Why do I say I think there still might be some level of animosity from guys on tour in the background? Jon Rahm jumped to the LIV Tour. And when Jon Rahm jumped from the PGA Tour to the LIV Tour, there were a lot of folks who spoke out against that decision at the time. One of them was Tiger Woods. Now, Tiger didn't really specifically speak out about it, but he did have some offhanded comments about it at the time. And at the time, many of us, myself included, wondered if perhaps those offhanded comments might have been directed at Jon Rahm. Turns out maybe so. Why? Because Jon Rahm did an interview with Marty Smith of ESPN not too long ago. He said, quote, Tiger, I texted him and the people that try to reach out, the process when I signed, and I just let him know, hey, this is a personal decision. I have nothing against anybody. Jon Rahm went on to say that Tiger Woods, and here's my favorite part, because here's where the conversation goes from what I think, Lonzo, I have framed as a relatively serious conversation about what is happening in the golf world now to hilarious. Jon Rahm says that he has been reaching out to Tiger Woods and that Tiger is not texting him back. Tiger Woods won't return a text. Now, maybe Tiger Woods is like, Lonzo, you got anybody in your life that you try to text and get in touch with and share information with, sometimes critical, sometimes playful, sometimes funny, sometimes serious, and they just don't text you back? You got anybody in your life like that?
Yeah, I might. That person texted me yesterday and I'm like, oh no, what's wrong?
Lonzo is, and I can say this categorically, talking about me. See, because I do this thing where if you text me, if I see the text and I respond to the text immediately, you'll get a text back. But if I see the text and for any reason don't text you back immediately, you may or may not get one back. Emphasis on the may not. If I see the text and I'm in a spot where I can text back and I text you back immediately, you're getting text back.
Unless you're me.
No, even you. If I see the text, the problem is that ordinarily when I leave here, a place where I work with Lonzo, and so we don't have to text because we sit 5 feet away from each other. If I'm here, Lonzo just spins in his chair and says the thing, and then I just say whatever back. After I leave here, I'm going to get lunch, and then I'm going home, and 8 out of 10 days, your boy's hitting the siesta. And when I wake up from the siesta, the fiance's home. I got to start worrying about dinner. It's time to do the honey-do list. I got to clean up the house. I got to get ready for this. I got to start show prepping. And if I don't text you back before I start that process, I forget. It's not that I'm a jerk, Lonzo. It's that I'm dumb and or forgetful. Actually, scratch that. There's no or there. It's that I'm dumb and forgetful. It is what it is.
So there aren't some times where you just go, I ain't answering that.
No. There has never been a point. Now, I will acknowledge there are sometimes I've had this conversation with my beautiful, beloved future bride. Sometimes I don't have anything to add. And if I don't have anything to add, I don't have anything to add. If you send me a text that's here is a statement, and we both know that I agree with that statement, I'm not going to write anything back because we both know I agree with the statement. I'm not the type of person that if you agree needs to hear you say, yes, Rob, you big smart boy, I agree with you. Sometimes I just know you agree with me.
What is it with you with the big smart boy thing today?
I don't
'Cause
know.
I
I like it.
that's multiple times today.
Well, you got the big strong boy.
I know, but it's
Now I got the big smart boy.
it's out of the norm for you. You've added something, and it's we have been together on the air for like 3 years, and it's just when you add something new, it kind of stands out.
Yeah, but I like it, and that's really all it comes down to. So maybe. In fact, I'd be willing to guess, and I could be wrong here, but I'm willing to venture and guess. Tiger Woods is busier than I am.
Nah, he's ghosting. I mean, come on.
But there's also the possibility he's ghosted. There's the chance he gets that text and he looks at that phone and he goes, "You, John? Absolutely not. You bailed on us. You bailed on me, and you bailed on us for money, and nothing else. And I'm not friends with a dude like that."
Or maybe John's one of those guys and we know some people like this. When you answer a text, you know you're going to have to text them for like,
yeah, it's a conversation.
for like,
now.
it's suddenly for like 20 minutes, you're texting back and forth and you just want to stop. But once the chain starts, you got to continue because you don't want to seem rude.
Damn it, John. I'm just trying to eat dinner over here, man. Stop texting me, dog. I'm trying to throw down some dinner with the fam, and you're over here blowing my stuff up.
Leave me alone, John. I'm at Friendly's and the waitress is into me.
I'm just trying to have a nice Perkins meal here, John. Leave me alone,
I always
John.
give Friendly's and Perkins were the same restaurant. I don't know if you ever went to one.
I've
or
never
the
been
other.
to either.
Yeah, they were basically the same restaurant.
Never
so.
been to either. Diddy says, you should see the amount of texts I've sent to Rob before getting a response. Here's the other thing, because Keegan dropped in and he said, just sends a thumbs up, confirm receipt. Dude, it's 2024. I got your text. Okay? I got your text. If your phone says the text went through, I got it. You know I got it. I know you know I got it. You know I know you got it. I got it. We got it.
Unless it was last week and it was AT&T. I mean, there's always a chance that could happen.
Unless, listen, the one time I didn't get your text was because of a solar flare. And I don't know if you know this yet. I'm not in control of solar flares.
Why
all
not?
right?
Why not?
But 9 out of 10 times, nope, I'm going to scratch that. 999,999 out of a million times, the one exception being a solar flare, I got your text.
Are you sure you're one step below a million? Are you absolutely positive?
I am willing to.
You lost me after so many nines. I was just like, yeah, I don't know.
I nailed the number. I am willing to bet I've sent a million texts and received a million texts. Because texting's been around since I was like in 6th grade. I promise you, I've sent and received a combination of a million texts. Okay? If I don't text you back, I got your damn text. I got it. I read it.
I don't know why you need to be angry about it. Maybe it's because you brought this up and everyone's coming at you right now.
Everybody in my life is. I have gotten 9 texts during this conversation about text. The point here is, John, Tiger got your text.
You should stop ignoring Diddy.
Diddy sent 5 of them. All right. Love you, Diddy. Hard hands emoji. Look, John, Tiger got your text. The reality of the situation is this. He's mad at you, dude, as are a lot of us. Okay? Congrats, you made the money. But sometimes making the money comes with the realization that you're going to leave people behind you that don't like you. Deal with it. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Chris just texted me too.
Why is Chris listening to this
Chris
sports
Lewis.
show?
Sorry, Chris Lewis.
Okay. All right. I'm sure out of all of us, you answered his text. Though.
He said no, I haven't yet. He said put read receipts on and then the phone respond. I'm going to tell you what. If I text you and your phone sends me back a text that tells me that your phone got the text, but then you don't text me back, that infuriates me more than you just not texting
All
me
right.
back.
I didn't know that existed until someone pointed out, I know you're getting my text because it's saying that you got my text. Why aren't you answering my text? And my response was, because I don't want to.
I missed the trash can. I believe it's solar flare.
I've also learned if it's something really important or out there, I just call, which has happened like once or twice,
Yeah, listen.
including last week. For some reason, I just called him.
I know. Yes, Wesley, I did see the Taylor Gooch drama. I intend to get to that too. I just can't do back-to-back golf stories. I know my audience too much for that. Taylor Gooch said that if the Live Tour guys can't play at the Masters, then there should be an asterisk attached to the Masters champion, affectionately being referred to in the golf community as a masterisk, which is good.
Well, that's really not
good.
bad. I kind of like that.
Also, my guy's last name is Gooch.
I know.
That's hilarious. I'm very
Gooch should
proud.
be an offensive lineman now.
I'm very proud of my name. I would never consider changing my name. I honestly don't have a problem with people who change their name if they just genuinely don't like their name. I'm 99% sure that if my last name was Gooch, the day I'm 18, I'm in a courtroom.
This is his last name, right?
Yeah.
I did not, man. I'm leaving that, especially if I'm sturdy like I am. Because, I mean, right away, and starting at offensive guard for South Carolina, Rob Gooch.
Like,
No, it would be Robbie Gooch. It would have
would
to.
be Robbie
It'd
Gooch.
have to be if yeah, it can't be just straight up Rob.
I'm just saying, if my last name was Gooch, I feel like having the last name Gooch ends up putting you in the life of a boy named Sue. You just have to learn how to be an ass kicker if your last name's Gooch.
It'd be my hey man, let's get Gooch. You know, he'll help us. Gooch will do that.
Gooch, you were if your last name is Gooch, you were either turning out to be the greatest quarterback or the greatest middle linebacker in history. That's a versatile name. Your last name's Gooch. You're either going QB or middle linebacker. You're wearing a cowboy collar either way.
You also, if your last name's Gooch, your mom won't let you hang out with him. You're not going anywhere with Gooch, okay? That boy's trouble. As per our mom's conversation yesterday that you texted me about and I didn't text back about mom names.
Yeah.
My mom's name is Fontella.
Which is
There's I'm not finding that anywhere. So, you know.
It's hilarious you brought that up because we just got a text that said, Rob, why won't you respond to my text? Don't you remember our moms are both named Martha? Signed Bruce.
Don't leave Bruce hanging like that.
Texter said, stop acting all brand new and just reply to your text. Dude, I got your text. You know I got your text. I know you know you
What's that mean, acting all brand new? Is that like what the kids say now?
No.
I
At
mean,
this point, if somebody says words to me that I don't understand, I just chalk it up to I'm old, and that's obviously something new that I don't know. I pride myself.
Stop acting like you all brand new.
I pride myself on still being like not sometimes using the lingo with the kids, right? But like every now and then one pops up that I'm like, I don't know what that
Hey,
means.
let's go to the mall after the show and just pick random teenagers and say
I'm
that
not
to
gonna
them.
lie.
Let's see what happens.
I enjoy walking around the mall. It feels like a adventure to me now. You know I got your text. It's a text. I have gotten every text that's ever been sent to me. If I saw it and I read it and I have nothing to add to it, why do you need a text back? You know I got it. I know you know I got it. I don't need to text you. Hey, Rob, I need this from you. Okay, you're going to get that thing from me. All right? Yesterday, our buddy Kevin downstairs needed an audio file from me. He texted me, hey, man, can I get that file? You know when I texted Kevin back? When he got the file. It's in your email. And I didn't say, I got it. It's in your email. Can you confirm? I just said it's in your email because I know he got it. And if he didn't got it, he'll text me back and say, I don't got it. And then I'll fix it again. but he needed an audio file. I emailed him the audio file. And if I knew if I knew for a fact he was at his computer, I wouldn't have even emailed or texted it's in your inbox. I know that it's in your inbox. The only reason I texted him was because he needed it quickly, and I didn't know if he was at his computer. But I didn't need him to text me back and go, "You're all correct, Rob. It's in my inbox. I got it." I know you know.
Should have put it on cassette and went down and put it in his cube and see what he would do.
Put it on a thumb drive. Real quick, before we go to a break, because it is just about time for Lonzo to once again absolutely pleasure your ears with a sports flash. If you have not seen the other golf story, I said I wasn't going to do back-to-back golf stories, but I got like a minute, so I might as well. Live Tour golfer Taylor Gooch. Yep, that's the real name. Taylor Gooch said that if the Live Tour guys aren't invited to play at the Masters this year, that the Masters champion should have an asterisk next to their name. I'm going to be honest with you. I actually agree with that, but that is my argument for why I hate the Live Tour. For the same reason that Rory did. Because the best golfers in the world are playing in two different places. And they're not playing together. You know, in the NFL, all the best football players in the world are playing in one place. In the NBA, all the best football players in the world are playing in one place. You know what soccer's biggest problem is? The fact that the best players in the world play around the world in 1,000 different leagues. So unless you're already familiar, it's hard to keep up because you got to pay attention to the results and standings and tables of 59 different top-level soccer leagues around the planet. That's why it's so hard to keep up with soccer. That's why you've got to dedicate yourself to being a soccer fan. I actually agree with Taylor Gooch. The only difference is I want the Live Tour to die and all those guys to come home to the PGA Tour. I will say this. The only reason I brought this up is because they are now calling it the winner this year of the Masters. They're saying he should have a masterisk next to his name. Get it? Because it's the Masters. Masterisk. Masters. That's real good. That's real good. That's real good. That's a real good pun. And I like it. I like it a lot. Hey, speaking of things that you're going to like a lot, here's Lonzo with a sports flash.
Ew. Why you do it like that? You like so brand new. The ACC has filed a brief in North Carolina that opposes the motion filed by FSU to dismiss or stay the conference's case. Both filings will be heard on March 22nd. In yesterday's filing, the ACC argued the cases should be played out in North Carolina, not Florida, where FSU filed, stating the conference contract is based there as opposed to Florida. Not confusing, really, it's not. New Panthers head coach Dave Canellis says the plan to fix Bryce Young doesn't have much to do with Young himself. Canales said yesterday there is no big plan to fix him, instead saying he believes he'll have to elevate the entire offense. Canales rather said his Panthers offense will be based on the run game and feature a lot of play action and bootlegs to help Young and the offensive line. Tune in tonight, 6:30 as Furman Paladins take on Western Carolina right here on The Fan, Upstate. By the way, I sent Rob a text like 5 or 6 minutes ago. He hasn't responded. So I'm guessing he got the text. I don't know.
cheaper, and you can get it online. Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy. You ought to be upset at Jason for going full tarps off. Now, I don't care because it's a football game. Let's have some damn fun. He's supposed to be sloppy looking. He's an NFL lineman. He's supposed to be belly everywhere. My dude got voted, sexiest man alive or something last year? He was in for it. And on behalf of fat, bearded Americans everywhere, Jason, thank you for working to convince the women of America that fat, bearded guys are the way to go. Because we
Fat bearded guy.
It's a shame I didn't usually write music on this promo, Ron.
Is that stuck with you still?
I mean, what do I know? I've only won a ton of
All the
awards.
awards.
Yeah, I mean, how would I know? Maybe I'm slipping. Maybe that's what it is.
Get it together, Lonzo.
We send all requests in text. What?
That video you just sent me.
Oh yeah. You mean I sent you like an hour and a half ago?
I just saw it.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up in the next break, we have a fight breakdown to do. It's not a fight. We have a move breakdown. And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. The final 60, the last hour of the Rob Brown radio program starts right now. Welcome in, Rob Brown and the great one, Lonzo, with you here on a dreary overcast, yet still somehow picturesque upstate Wednesday morning. I am Rob Brown. He is the great one. We are ever so excited to have you here with us this morning, as excited as the Cleveland Cavaliers fans were last night when Max Strus drained a 54-footer to knock off Luka in the Mavs. He knocked that shot down, and even the guys on the bench for Dallas were like, damn, dude, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, right? Can't get mad at that. That just is what it is. We got a lot more stuff to get into on the radio program here. Text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. You can also tweet post me at The Rob Brown Show, because I am a branding genius at The Rob Brown Show. You can get Lonzo at Lonzo on Word, W-O-R-D. Tweet everybody at the station at The Rob Brown Show. And, of course, the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone is there for you as well at 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. That's the number if you want to get at us in that direction. You are certainly welcome to do so. Let's get to something we talked about back on Monday's show. Back on Monday's show, we talked about the fact that James Coley had been hired by Shane Beamer out of Texas A&M. He was on campus for South Carolina for about 4 weeks before he decided, nah, I'm all right.
This was on me. My bad.
And he headed to the University of Georgia to take on the same role. A lot of South Carolina fans were real upset because they had a young man in that position by the name of Justin Stepp. Justin Stepp was effectively demoted in order to make room for James Coley. Coley was there 4 weeks. Coley left one more time again to head to the University of Georgia to be the WR coach there. And South Carolina fans were up in arms. They were not happy. Many of them said this is indicative of where this program is. And when we got in on Monday and we talked about it, I said, yo, relax, Gamecock fans. Take a deep breath. Understand what actually happened here. What actually happened here is that Shane Beamer swung for the fences. He made a run at a guy who is a highly coveted coach and highly coveted recruiter. And that guy said yes. And the only reason that that guy left was because the supermodel next door said, I'm in a negligee, come over. And he said, yes, ma'am. And he took off. All right. This is the equivalent of your lady leaving you for Bradley Cooper. Like, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, it stings. On the flip side, quick, name me all the reasons she made the bad decision. Go ahead, I'll wait. He's got money. He's got looks. Yeah, of course she left you for Bradley Cooper. All right?
He's the voice of Rocket Raccoon.
He's Rocket Raccoon. Of course he left you for Bradley Cooper. When you have a dude that looks and makes money like me and Bradley Cooper, it's hard to compete with guys like us. It just is. So, you got to look at it more from, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, and dare I say, an opinion inspired by, motivated by, driven by the source of my power. That is my relentless, ceaseless, unending optimism in the future. Because I am just made up of it. You swung for the fences. You convinced a highly coveted guy to leave A&M. Because I don't know for a fact, but I'm relatively sure Mike Elko, the new coach at A&M, the guy that left Duke after building them into the best Duke football program they've ever had, I'm including the Spurrier years in that. Mike Elko would have kept James Coley on board at A&M. And Coley said, no, I'm going to South Carolina. You swung for the fences. A highly coveted position coach / recruiter said yes. And the only reason he left was because the Bradley Cooper of college football programs came a-calling. Hard to fault that person for taking off, right? So I said, look at the bright side. The bright side was, whatever you think of the program is at least built up enough that a guy like James Coley said yes, even if he only stayed yes for just a minute. But here's the thing, South Carolina, you are not alone. It's not just you. You see, because Kirby Smart also needed to hire a running backs coach. Del McGee was the running backs coach and offensive run game coordinator for the Georgia Bulldogs. He got the itch to go be a head coach. So he decided to head out to Georgia State and become the head coach of the Panthers, a position vacated by Sean Elliott, now a member of the South Carolina Gamecock coaching staff. Well, that, of course, meant that there was a vacancy there for the running backs coach position at Georgia. So what did Kirby Smart do? He looked over to his cross-state rival, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech had a young man by the name of Josh Crawford, who was coaching running backs there. Josh Crawford had coached at 5 different high schools in the state before he got to Georgia Tech. And last year, Georgia Tech had a decent run game. You'll remember Georgia Tech last year was a threat. Not a great team. Not a great team. I think Brent Key's doing an excellent job in the ATL building up Georgia Tech. And part of that was predicated on the run game last year, a run game that was organized by Josh Crawford. Josh Crawford is now a member of the Georgia Bulldog coaching staff. Crawford is a guy that Brent Key brought to Georgia Tech, that Brent Key saw something in, that Brent Key was elevating. Crawford was a guy that I would not have been shocked to see become the offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech within the next couple of years. I think that was a genuine possibility. And instead, he makes his way to Georgia, a spot that he is probably a number of steps away from the offensive coordinator position. Why? Because once again, Bradley Cooper came a-calling, or if you would like to flip the script to feel more comfortable, Scarlett Johansson came a-calling. That's it. That's it. So South Carolina, you're not the only school that is labeled mid, respectfully, that Georgia's poaching coaches from. This is one more consequence of being the crown jewel of college football. Because basically, whenever your coaching staff creates a vacancy, because of course, if you're a lower level school, say Georgia State, if you can get a guy who coached under Kirby Smart to come to your school, you do it. Because that guy sat under the learning tree of a guy who has built the premier institution in college football right now. It might be Michigan, except for Jim Harbaugh just left. Kirby Smart's still at Georgia. It might be Alabama, who beat Georgia, the only team to do so last year, but Nick Saban just left. There are, if I recall correctly, and I'm doing this off the top of my head here, Zoe, there are like 2 college football coaches active right now that have national championship rings. Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart. Harbaugh's gone. Saban's gone. I'm trying to think back.
You're talking about head coaches.
I'm talking about head coaches
that
are currently active. Active head coaches with a national championship ring as a head coach. I think the list right now is down to Dabo and Kirby Smart, right? I think that's it. I'm trying to think of who else there is. Jim Harbaugh's gone. Kirby Smart, Dabo, Mac Brown, 3. Mac Brown's got 1. But Mac Brown's not really in that mix at this point. Jimbo Fisher's unemployed right now. So it's a list of 3. Dabo, Kirby Smart, and Mac Brown. That's the whole list. And Mac Brown's in North Carolina. He ain't anywhere close to getting another one. So think about that landscape. Think about a landscape in which there are currently 3 head coaches that have a national championship that are active, and a landscape in which one of them is irrelevant. There are, if we're with all due respect to Mac Brown, a guy that I really like, by the way. I've met and interviewed Mac Brown a couple of times. I like Mac Brown a lot. He's a cool guy. There are 2 relevant coaches with a natty right now. So if you're a lower level school, you pull from those trees. If you can get a guy up out of Clemson or a guy up out of Georgia, you know that guy has learned from one of the 2 guys who matter that have a ring. Yeah, I want that guy on my staff. That means there are going to be vacancies on those guys' staffs. But if you get a chance to go coach on that guy's staff, you go. Because you get to sit under that learning tree. You get to learn how those 2 guys became 2 of the only 3 active guys that have done it at this point. You get to learn how they did it. And guess what that makes you? More attractive for head coaching jobs that come open in the future. It's a real simple formula. So Carolina fans, I told you earlier this week, don't panic. Don't freak out that James Coley left. Does it sting? Yes, of course. Does it make you feel like you have been a scorned ex-lover? Yeah, sure. Of course. Why not? But understand the reason that Coley left. And understand, more importantly, that Coley was there to leave in the first place. That means something. You are not the only team that Georgia is snagging guys from. And again, I'm afraid to tell you this because I don't want to get beat up. But Georgia Tech sits only slightly behind South Carolina on the pecking order of relevancy in college football. I believe that South Carolina has a much easier path to success in the future than does Georgia Tech. That's why I got them higher on the pecking order than the Yellow Jackets.
Aren't there any unwritten rules about poaching coaches from other teams?
Like every other rule, sometimes even the written ones, Lonzo. When guys have a chance to go somewhere and have success and make money, they leave behind people that are very disappointed in the wake behind them. We just had this conversation about the guys on the Live Tour. John Rahm's getting on the newspaper going, Tiger won't return my text. We used to be buddies. Well, can you imagine why? By you leaving the PGA Tour, by you going over to the Live Tour, you have created a situation in which the PGA Tour is less visible, is less successful, is less profitable, and you have bolstered the competition that makes them that way. So you can understand why Tiger Woods, a guy who is still on the PGA Tour, might be a little upset. You actively made his life worse by going over. So yeah, it's kind of unsurprising why he might not want to text you back, bro. Did James Coley leave? Is there a unwritten rule against poaching coaches? Yeah, kinda. But here's the thing about unwritten rules. You know what else unwritten rules are? Unenforceable. It's not a rule. It's not a rule. And, you know, Zoe, you've been in this game a long time. You have seen hosts that maybe had a lot of people that relied on them. A lot of people that leaned on them, a lot of people whose jobs were directly connected to them. And then they just come in one day and they go, hey, I'm out. I'm gone. I got this new opportunity. I got this new gig. I got this new job, and it's going to pay me 2, 3, 4, 5 times what I'm getting paid here. So I have to take it. And all the other people in the room have this moment of realization where they go, I'm out of a job if this individual leaves. It happened to me. I was in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. A guy made a decision. Now, he didn't leave for a better job. He left to go to jail.
So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but as far as this station goes, anyone leaves, it's not going to be that kind of impactful.
Sure. But what I'm saying is you've been in that situation before. I'm not worried about this station.
I will tell you, when Greg McKinney announced or told me before he retired that I was concerned about the station, because he and I were, helped build everything that, the station was at the time. And it's like, okay, he's leaving. I wonder what happens to me. So yeah.
We've all been there. I worked for a show for a station down in Florida, and a guy made a decision to do crimes, and he went to jail. And, when he went to jail, I absolutely had an existential moment. I'm like, I just got in this business. I've dedicated my whole life to it. Now, I went nose to grindstone, and I hosted 2 daily 4-hour shows. By hosted, I mean hosted, produced, edited, directed, put together. I was the security. I was the bouncer. I was everything for that station. I was the only employee of that station, and I kept it afloat. Most guys would not have done that in that situation. And I did it all for like $7.15 an hour. Most guys would not have done that. But
Braggart.
I needed that to stay afloat. So I did it. But the point is, when that guy made his decision to move on, I got very concerned about it. But that guy knew full well when he was committing those crimes, as so many guys do in this industry, when they leave behind a station because they get poached for more cash. Yes, they are putting everybody they leave behind in a very vulnerable state. They're still going to do it because it's not against the law. It's not against the rules. Did James Coley break some unwritten ethical guideline written by coaches about being poached or allowing yourself to be poached? Did Georgia break what some people would consider ethical rule about poaching coaches when spring football was quite literally days away? Maybe. Do you think either one of those entities gives a damn?
Maybe they should, though, because if you think about it, coaches, it's one of those professions where they just go other places constantly. You go in other places. So chances are someone you've wronged, you will work for them or work with them eventually.
Sure. But keep in mind, just like Georgia poached away James Coley, just like they took him off of a staff that was, again, days away from getting spring ball started, Del McGee, a guy that Georgia put a lot of development effort into, a guy that Georgia put a lot of trust into, a guy that was there to run Georgia's run game, a guy that, frankly, likely would have eventually gotten a shot at becoming the coordinator, got a call days before spring football started. Got a call from Georgia State. We're interested in hiring you to be our head coach. Would you have interest in us? And he said, yes. So just like Georgia took James Coley, just like Georgia reached down and took Georgia Tech's running backs coach to come fill that role, Georgia had a guy leave their staff too. In fact, none of these things are happening if it wasn't for Georgia having guys leave their staff as well. It happens to everybody. This is the value, if you are Georgia right now, this is the value of building yourself up into a nationally recognized, nationally respected franchise program. The value is when somebody comes in and gets one of yours, you can pretty much go get anybody else's to fill that role quickly. It's going to be tough for South Carolina to fill that wide receiver role with somebody, unless Stepp's willing to just jump right back into the office. Unless he's willing to take that spot back, it's going to be real tough for South Carolina to fill that role with somebody that fits the model of James Coley. Sucks to be you. You want to be able to fill it the way that Georgia fills it? Be Georgia. Be Alabama, be Michigan. That's how you do it. Is it hard to get there? Yeah, of course. James said, well, at least it wasn't a player doing that. That'd be unforgivable. Thank you very much, James. I appreciate it. Let's take a break. We come back. We got a couple of segments left in the final hour of the show. Got a few more quick stories I want to run through, 1, 2, 3 when we come back, and then we'll ask what the X is going on, and we will call it a day. My name is Rob Brown. That guy on the other side of the glass, metaphorical glass, that's the great Malonzo. We, collectively, are the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Oops. Double hit that button. That's how you should wear flannel, my guy. Absolutely.
Obviously, I have to go see what you're
Well,
talking
better
about.
hurry. Although he's not moving too fast.
All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. I got to make a quick phone call. Be right back.
Objects in the window might appear bigger than what they are in real life.
I need a parlay v parlay punishment for Mario this week because Cody and I have hit again.
Yeah, I refuse to help.
Producer solidarity.
Absolutely.
Long hair producer solidarity.
Yeah, that's even a different level. I don't even know what that means, Nolan.
Parlay is when you make two separate bets, but you make them as one bet. So if both of those separate bets hit, your one parlay bet hits. So he is betting.
Oh, wait, I get it now that they're going to be the nominees for. Okay, all right.
And I also love that you can 100% bet on politics, bet on elections. Nolan, that is when you hit pure degeneracy, and I am here for it.
So you're not going with your heart. You just want money. Okay, I get it.
When it comes to gambling, yes.
No, I was talking about his gamble, according to the thing. So I am not putting Diddy on the trending because of why I see he's trending. That's my favorite liner. I just want to say, because it talks about award winning, you know? Which this show has done twice now.
As the great Ron Swanson once said, everything we do is the behavior of an award winner, as we have won awards.
It's nearly season time, so
it is about that time. It's about that time. Yeah, it's about that time. We're going for 3. We want to become three-time South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the year. Real quick, in that last segment where we were talking South Carolina coaching, I mentioned Justin Stepp. Just so you're clear, when I understand Justin Stepp is not on the Gamecock program anymore. He's with Illinois now, right? The point that I was making here was if you are where you think you are, and I probably phrased it poorly, if you are where you think you are, then you would be in a position where maybe you could go get him back. But the reality is that bridge has been burned.
Plus, is that real? I mean, what was that a lateral move for him to go over to Illinois? I mean, I don't.
Yes.
As far as where South Carolina is in positioning in SEC as opposed to where Illinois is with the Big Ten.
Yes, I would say it is a lateral move. Illinois is a team that is mid in the Big Ten. A Big Ten, which, by the way, is dramatically better. But I would also point out South Carolina's, by definition, mid of the Southeastern Conference. It was a lateral move for Justin Stepp, but it was a move that is understandable based on what happened in Columbia, right? You got demoted to bring another guy in. I'm going to tell you right now, and I say this with all due respect to the powers that be, I love it here. I love where I work. But if tomorrow they came in and they said, Rob, now you do Saturday overnights and we're bringing in a new guy to host the mornings and you are going to be, content creator. We're going to move you to the social media chair. I would quit too. I'm not eating a demotion like that and coming back to pretend I'm happy about it.
What if they upped your salary by a good degree?
Honestly, it depends on the number. The $1 Million Man accurately said everybody's got a price. But I mean, even if they left it the same, even if it was a slight uptick in salary, if they came to me and said, Rob, we're replacing you in the host chair, we're going to make you the social media guy. We want you to sit in that chair over there. And we want you to post tweets and Instagram videos when the host says big, smart things. Yeah, I'd be gone too. And even if that meant I had to go to a smaller station in a smaller community to rebuild myself, I would do that. Yes, Justin Thep is gone. The point that I was making was if you were a Georgia, you could call him and go, hey, that's our bad. That's our bad. We know you understand, right? You get it. You get why we had to do that. But now we want you back. And maybe with a guy like that, you'd have a chance to get him back, but you don't. And now you got to rebuild the whole office, right? That's what I'm driving at here. You ain't Georgia. Georgia's Georgia. Nobody else is Georgia. All right. Let's get a couple of things in here real quick before we take off. Ryan Poles, general manager of the Chicago Bears, was asked yesterday in Indianapolis at the Combine, as it is getting underway, if he had any update on Justin Fields. Are the Bears going to trade Justin Fields? Are they going to keep Justin Fields and draft a quarterback? And Ryan Poles was very non-committal on the whole situation. He said he hopes to have a decision and a direction sometime in the next couple days. And then he said, while I think trying to say nothing at all, he said, I think, Alonzo, the quiet part out loud. He said, no matter what happens, we, quote, want to do right by Justin, end quote. That's a breakup phrase.
I think he also said if they were going to do that, trade him, they would do it as fast as they could to be fair, which once you say that, you're basically saying you're trading them.
Yep.
Unless you're doing that thing that they do this time of the year.
Season. It is smoke season. Sometimes you got to give the smoke. Sometimes you got to throw up the smoke screen. But, and maybe that's what he's doing here.
Go throw this out here and see how much people are willing to offer for that.
Exactly.
Yeah, number one pick.
Because going back to the $1 Million Man, everybody's got a price. Ryan Poles may be sitting in his office right now, like laughing with the ownership of the Chicago Bears, saying, we're not trading this guy. We're not trading him. We got the number one pick. You know how much value there is in that? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. They may also just be saying, let's find out what the price is worth, right? Let's find out what the price is. Let's find out what teams are willing to offer. Because while we are not interested in trading Justin Fields, while we are not interested in sending him on to another squad, we might be. Because we might not be interested in sending him to another squad. But if another squad calls and goes, we'll give you 4 first-round picks for him, dude, sorry, bro, but you gone. You're gone. I'm not interested in leaving this radio station, but if somebody calls me tomorrow and offers me $1 million, I'm out. It's not that I want to leave. It's that I can't afford not to in that situation. There are some decisions that you make not because you want to make them, but because you can't afford not to make them. If, say, the Atlanta Falcons, who have, according to reports, as I told you they would on Monday, emerged as the front-running organization for a trade for Justin Fields, if one is to be made. If the Atlanta Falcons truly believe that Justin Fields is QB1 of the future. And they're like, hey, we're willing to trade DJ Moore we're willing to trade some massive pieces for this guy because we think he's the dude. There is a price point for which the Bears, even if they want to trade Justin Fields, cannot afford not to do it. And I think basically one of two things is happening. What I think is most likely to happen is that the Bears are going to trade Justin Fields because while I think, while I understand it is smoke screen season, and while I understand right now teams are saying and doing things that may or may not ultimately be true and are saying and doing these things effectively to throw everybody else off the trail, so that when it comes draft day, their intentions and their desires are secretive. At the same time, the phrase, we want to do right by, that's a breakup phrase. That's something when you tell your buddy, hey, I got to do something about my relationship with Sabrina. And they go, what are you going to do? And you say, I don't know yet, but I want to do right by her. What you're saying is, yeah, I know I'm about to hurt this person, but I want to do it in a way that I'm giving them the best opportunity to heal quickly, right? That's a breakup phrase. Ryan Poles just threw the breakup phrase into a conversation where he was busting his hump not to give anything away. But he said, we want to do right by Justin. That's a breakup phrase, dude. I did mention a moment ago that the Atlanta Falcons are, as of right now, according to reports, emerging as the leading candidate to be a trade partner with the Chicago Bears for Justin Fields. Now, we do not have a price on the table right now, but I know they're going to move on to a quarterback one way or the next. Why? Because Raheem Morris, the new coach of the Atlanta Falcons, was in front of the exact same media yesterday. And he was asked, after taking over for Arthur Smith, whose Falcons lost 10 games in each of his last 3 seasons as the head coach, was asked about the quarterback on the roster right now. That, of course, would be the illustrious, the legendary Desmond Ridder. And he was asked, hey, coach, you going to make a change at quarterback? Or is Desmond Ridder your guy? And Raheem Morris looked into a reporter's eyes, Lonzo, and he said, quote, if we had better quarterback play last year in Atlanta, I might not be standing here, end quote.
Ouch.
Dude, if Desmond Ridder wasn't on the phone, not that there's anybody who's going to want him, but if Desmond Ridder wasn't on the phone with his agent before Raheem Morris finished that, not press conference, that damn sentence, going, you better get me the hell up out of the ATL, bro. Because the new guy just said, if I was a better and by the way, just so we're clear, Raheem Morris isn't wrong. It was the classic old,
You're not wrong. You're just an.
That's what it was. I mean, you just double leg takedown. You just German suplex Desmond Ridder through the mat. But you weren't wrong. Desmond Ridder was bad. How many games? I wish my boy Brandon was up in here. Noted ATL fan Brandon Smith was up in here. Because Brandon down in Florida, he's my ATL guy. He's my ATL go-to. And Brandon can tell me off the top of his head, how many games last year did the Atlanta Falcons have a lead and blow it because Desmond Ridder ended up stinking down the line? The game in Germany was one of them. The game against New Orleans to end the season was one of them. There were a number of games that the Falcons had a chance to win, and unfortunately, Desmond Ridder just made mistakes. And unlike Bryce Young, I can't sit here and chalk it up to a bad team around Desmond Ridder. This is why a lot of people firmly believe Atlanta's a quarterback away. They got a good offensive line. They got a good defense. Hell, even Justin Fields said that in a podcast the other day. This Atlanta team is real close. They got arguably one of the best 1-5 wide receiver rooms in the NFL. Pitts, London, they got a good group of wide receivers. So I can't look at Desmond Ridder like I look at Bryce Young. I can look at Bryce Young, and yes, I can admit Bryce Young had an absolutely crap season. Nobody disagrees with that, but I can look at the team around Bryce Young and go, yeah, it's kind of on them too. I can look at the coaching staff and go, it's kind of on them too. And I could probably look at Arthur Smith's coaching staff in Atlanta and go, it's kind of on him.
Not anymore, you can't.
Well, I could look at the record books. I could look at the past tenure of the last guy in the ATL, and I could probably say, yeah, it's kind of on that guy, kind of on Arthur. But I can't say it's on the team. I can't say it's on the roster. It's a pretty good roster. Desmond Ridder was a problem, if not the problem. Same way about Dak, which, by the way, lulz, yesterday the reports started coming out of Indy that the Dallas Cowboys, quote, definitely, end quote, according to one team source, want to lock up Dak Prescott on a long-term contract. Where you think that decision's coming from?
Oh, they need to. I mean, because that way they can prepare for what they've been doing every single season.
I mean,
you know,
the Al Davis effect in full swing in Arlington, Texas.
Didn't they win a playoff game this year? Did they?
Yeah, but no, they didn't. They got bounced, didn't they? They got bounced in round one.
They
were so long ago, Lonzo.
Yeah, well, you know, it's Dallas. Everybody else talks about them, so I try to block them out. I don't hate them. There's oversaturation, and certain places on the television, when they have nothing else to talk about, that's their go-to. So.
You're wrong. Green Bay bounced Dallas in an upset in round one.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because they kicked the hell out of them.
All right, yeah,
they put 48 on them.
I'm sorry. Not only did they lose, they lost by a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Al Davis effect in full effect in Arlington, Texas. So anyway, point here is
I'm only cracking on Dallas because the boss is out of town,
and also because it is hilarious. I had a conversation with him the day after that game. Not only did I have a conversation with him the day after that game, we were all out the day, or I think the Monday after that game, we had a Chamber of Commerce event where the upstairs boss, noted Dallas Cowboys fan, and the downstairs boss, noted Green Bay Packers fan, were standing next to each other. And when I walked up to the two of them, the upstairs boss said, "Rob, I don't want to talk about football today." And the downstairs boss said, "I do." It was a wonderful moment in my life. It was one of those moments that I said, I'll just be over here if you need me.
Was it a Chamber of Commerce moment?
Good one.
Was that a dad joke? Okay.
You were in the right. You were pointed in the right direction.
Well, I mean, because you were at the Chamber of Commerce.
No, you're in the right direction there.
Okay, all right. My delivery wrong there?
No, because like Chamber of Commerce moment usually means like something. I mean, like for me, it's usually something that you would share with the masses to attract them to the thing, right? Like blue skies, clouds, no clouds, sunny day, 72 degrees, no humidity. That's a Chamber of Commerce day. That's a day that you will put on a postcard and display.
So like the opposite of today.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Atlanta's going to make a move for Justin Fields. Okay. Calling that shot now. They're going to make a move for Justin Fields because it will be cheaper to make a move for Justin Fields. And even though I think his ceiling is kind of established, I think his ceiling is good enough to win with a good team built around him. Not good enough to carry an okay team to good. And he's good enough to take a good team to good. It is a roll of the dice on Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels But the roll of the dice could totally come up snake eyes, could come up nat 20 if I may make another dumb D&D reference.
Yeah, the snake eyes thing would be hilarious, though. You get rid of a guy, he goes to Atlanta and wins the NFC South. Like, that's hard to do, but still. And then you just go the opposite direction in Chicago.
Justin Fields is going to show up in Atlanta, and he's a guy that's going to roll anywhere from like a 9 to a 14. Might work, might not. We'll see. Jaden Daniels can roll anywhere, in my opinion, from a 10 to a nat 20. Caleb Williams anywhere from like a 2 to an 18. Drake May anywhere from like a 1 to a 15.
So if you're Justin Fields, you're leaving behind DJ Moore. Are you going to a better receiver core?
Yes. Yes, you are. And now, obviously, this depends on what the draft looks like. And again, I think part of the reason that Atlanta is the move here, Atlanta's the team that makes the move for Justin Fields, is because the only other way they are getting a QB of the future is to trade a hell of a lot more to go get Caleb Williams, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels at 1, 2, or 3, or take J.J. McCarthy, because I do think he'll be available at 8. But here's the thing. J.J. McCarthy led the Michigan Wolverines to a natty this year. Very few of us that run in the NFL draft analysis circle, very few of us think J.J. McCarthy's the guy at the next level. Go back and watch Michigan. Michigan's best games, Penn State, Washington, etc. These are games where they ran in football, and occasionally let JJ
especially
throw.
After Connor Stallion's stuff came out, then
Bingo.
suddenly they started running the ball.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Go look at, if I recall correctly, I'm doing this off the top of my head. Didn't Michigan throw the ball twice in the second half?
It was something. It was pretty. Yeah, it was very low.
Yeah. That wasn't exclusively because they were having so much success with a run. It's because they want to limit J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy ain't the guy. Atlanta has two options: a lower level trade for Justin Fields, or trade your whole draft away to get Caleb, Drake, or Jaden. My suggestion would be go to get Jaden, but what do I know besides ball? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. What an interesting venue for 21 Savage to play.
I have no idea who that is. So.
He's a young rapper.
Well, I guess
like hard rapper. Performance.
All right, time to ask Rob what the X is going on, and he will let us all know what it is. The first thing that is Xing is Sting.
So I've not watched. I'm behind on last week's NXT too, but Sting's
AEW.
last. I mean AEW. Sorry. Sting's last.
You're behind on
match.
NXT. Also.
I'm behind on everything.
Yeah.
I'm behind on everything. I'm driving through Raw right now. Then NXT I will watch this evening and then get prepped. I may or may not make Dynamite tonight, but I will watch it tomorrow morning and then I'll be caught up. But either way, Sting's final match is coming up this weekend in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm not going to lie. I had really hoped to be there, but it's Sting's last match. Those tickets are not going cheap, unfortunately.
All right. The reason why he's Xing it has to do with that, but tonight is his last Dynamite.
I don't see a world where he doesn't show up on the show. Not wrestle, but I don't see a world in which he does. Like, I don't think he finishes on Sunday and then he's like, all right, Darbs, good luck.
They're billing it as his last Dynamite.
I mean, sure.
So they wouldn't lie.
I've also seen Rick's last match 50 times. So,
that last one seemed to have stuck though. We'll see. All right. The next thing that's Xing is Taylor Swift.
Tay-Tay. I do not know why Taylor is trending. I did see yesterday that apparently Taylor Swift holds her pen real weird. Like, apparently she holds her pen when she signs autographs between her middle and her ring finger like this, and that's how she signs autographs. And this is true, hate it. I hate it so much.
I think she probably does that so she could sign more quickly. That's what I'm guessing, because it allows more fluidity with your wrist.
Yeah, I did notice because I was watching after the meet and greet this past Saturday with R-Truth. I noticed that a lot of these folks, once they get to a certain level of fame, their signature becomes less letters and more like kind of swoops and dots, because I was watching him and it was just like Stephanie, friend of the show, Stephanie, who was kind of, they put a stack of postcards. And as he signed one, he picks his hand up. She pulls it out of the way. He signs another. And it got to the point where R-Truth's signature was just like more like that,
Yeah.
It's just kind of some squiggles. And so I assume that's probably got a lot to do with it. I also noticed last night, because I was watching the Houston-Cincinnati college basketball game, Reese Davis, big fan, was calling that game. And Reese holds his pen the same way. It's like he holds it like in between his fingers, and he does this a lot with it. And does
he do telestrating?
I don't know if it's him that does the telestrating,
because
or not.
If he does, I think it will be easier to do it because, again, a fluidity of wrist movement.
I think it makes sense with the signature.
Yeah,
but I don't think it makes sense with a telestrator, because the telestrator is more about precision.
Is a telestrator down or is it up? I mean, is it an actual screen in front of you? If it is, and it's not laying down, then instead of doing this, you're actually doing this.
Yeah, the ones I've used in the past, they sit.
I know
in
that
front of
doesn't
you.
work on radio. Sorry about that.
That's why you should watch the stream at facebook.com/thefanupstate, twitter.com/thefanupstate, on YouTube,
All
on
right.
Twitch.
We're spending
The
too
Rob
much.
Brown Show.
We're spending way too much time. on this.
Illustrator sits up like this. So ordinarily
Yeah.
you're kind of it's either that or it's flat on a desk. But still, like the signature thing I get, because if your signature is just turned into a bunch of loops, it's faster. Either way, even if it makes perfect sense, I still hate it.
All right, that's not why she's Xing. She is Xing because it came out since the coaches and everyone are in Indy for the combine.
Yep.
That she made homemade Pop-Tarts for the offensive
I
line.
saw that.
And
And
Andy Reid didn't get in.
they didn't share with Andy.
Yes.
For the
and
record,
of course, Andy is voicing his displeasure with that. And
For
that's
the-
why everyone knows about it.
for the record, Trav got himself a girl who is not only world famous, who is not only a billionaire, who will not only fly from Japan to California in a couple of hours to watch him play in the Super Bowl, but now she's baking his teammates' homemade Pop-Tarts. Trav, my guy, live the dream, dude.
Yeah, but Taylor Swift made these Pop-Tarts. I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
there you go.
She is
Yeah.
added to
Yeah.
Travis. If Travis wanted to quit football tomorrow, Travis wanted to quit football tomorrow and give away all his money he's made, he would still be a billionaire. A. B. She is very clearly doting on him. And C. Now she's baking goods for his teammates. T-Rav, my guy, good on you.
All right. One last thing. Beyond Meat is Xing.
Listen, I'm gonna give you vegetarians, you vegans, a secret. If you will stop pretending everything is meat, a lot of us would stop disliking you so much. Stop pretend. If you just stop, it's plants. We know it's plant. It's okay to just go, hey, look, it's plant. We made plant taste different. This plant tastes this way. This plant tastes this way. Eat these plants, and I'll stop this. Okay, that's not a rant I want to go on. We're out. For Lonzo, I'm Rob. Have a good rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. See you back here tomorrow on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate later. Yeah. This show's so dumb, and I love it.
Still, I'll talk to bed, but it's just
Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
Where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Get ready. This week, Staples has deals so good, you're going to want to sit down.
All right, dudes and dudes. I'd be disappointed if Rick turns on Sting for the 45th time. I can't
it's
imagine.
it's gonna he's gonna turn on the Bucks. This is
That, yeah.
this is a double swerve.
Yeah. That's what I see happening. All right, dudes and dudettes, thank you guys for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed the show. You're all spectacular people. Tell your friends about us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your day. Goodbye.